Alright, let's check out this trailer. I just saw it posted. Oh, jeez. Oh, he's got the Goro walk. Oh, he looks fucking fantastic. Oh my god. Oh, so little, but so much happiness from me right now. He looked exactly the way I'd want him. He's, even in his human form, classic form, I'm already going to play it back, but total Goro walk action. He might as well just the Jason Lives right there. Right from part 6. Beautiful. But yes, that's definitely his part 3, part 4 look. It just looks absolutely beautiful. It doesn't have the axe thing in there. Let me pause it back here. Yeah, he doesn't even have the axe mark in his... So it's definitely like a part 3 look, but I think it's kind of like a best of. I'm so excited to see the actual gameplay and whatnot, but that is enough for me. I'm so stoked for this, guys. I don't have much else to say other than just that's fucking awesome. Happy Friday the 13th. I'll just tag this along with something else so it's not its own video. With the stream later or something, but man, that is beautiful. Alright, sweet. Welcome back to the Netherkast, episode 22. How was your guys' weekend? I'm Black Cyborg, joined by, as always, Razor's Edge, temporary username, and Shadaloo. And we have a special guest on this week from MKO, Chrome. I think he's our first, actually, international guest, so yay.
Hi.
How you doing? Yeah. How long have you been going to MKO?
Let's see. Well, I first began to lurk around MKDA. Yeah, and I joined just before or when Deception was coming out, I think. So yeah, 7, 8, 10 years.
Was that?
Jesus.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Was that your first forum? Is that the only forum you go to?
One of the first forums, yes.
Yeah, there's been
first major English forum I joined, yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. How's everybody else doing?
I'm doing pretty darn well.
I knew that's what would happen.
We need to have like a set order, like just every week.
Yeah, we need to set up some sort of like a silent like light signal where it flashes on the screen when you want somebody to talk.
Yeah.
Maybe alphabetized. I don't know. Good.
Right.
I'm doing good. Doing good.
Good. Razor?
I'm all right. You know, I'm back from vacation.
Razor,
Back in
you
the
ready?
swing of things.
You ready to have a much happier episode? Our stream. I'd like to mention this. Our stream was noticed by Sean Hemerick and Tacos. I love or lover of tacos on Twitter.
The one where
of
I
course.
was drunk?
No, that one for some reason glitched the hell out. It ended up being like 16. No, it was like 18 hours for some reason, even though we only recorded 4. Everything
was
was
like 4 long. And it became...
Something happened.
He was so drunk, man.
I hope that
that thing was never meant to see the light of day.
It must have not have been.
Yeah,
because
it's definitely for the best. The thing is, it was St. Patrick's Day weekend. I was gonna drink anyway, and then all of a sudden you're like, "Hey, you're online right now. Let's stream." And I'm all like, "Okay, I guess."
I feel fairly
I
confident.
just didn't want to say no.
Like, had I been able, I could have like walked into your door, Razor, drawn a dick on your forehead in the middle of all your rage, and you wouldn't have known because you were gone, dude.
Just to recap, when Razor is drunk, he can't say no. Just want to put that out there.
Any ladies out there? But no, I wanted to mention.
That's gonna happen.
No, I was talking about our review of the stream. We did our live recording of our reaction as it was taking place, and
Oh,
they
yeah,
only showed
their stream. Okay.
yeah, they only showed about 15-20 minutes worth of stuff, so in which most of that we were quiet because there was a lot of story dialogue and stuff like that. So ultimately we just decided not going to upload that. We're just going to upload the stuff after the stream, just kind of us talking about the stream, and it got into just how much they've shown, and it came off a bit negative for the first half, then it got a little bit more positive when we reiterated what we did like about the stream. But either way,
we said most of the positive things while we were watching, but we said so little while the stream was going on that we decided to cut all that.
Right. So
we had to kind of repeat some of it at the end.
Right. And we ranted a bit on them not showing a whole lot, like when we're so close to the game, and also on the 3D characters. It seems like they're not going to be, a lot of them aren't going to be playable, so we just kind of shared our feelings on that, and it came off a bit negative. Got shared with Sean Hemerick on Twitter, and he was nice enough to comment back, and he seemed taken or a little bit taken off guard at the fact that a lot of the things we had to say were negative, at least in the first half. I don't know how much he listened to, but either way, very cool of him, and he definitely seemed like he didn't get the wrong impression that we're always negative all the time. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, we'll get into all that stuff and get everybody else's thoughts. We'll get Temp's, Shadowloo's, and Chrome's thoughts on those things as well. And you'll be able to hear Razor's and I's, of course, too. So it'll be a lot more positive this time. So hopefully he decides to give us another chance and realize we're not just bitchy, complaining, whining fanboys of that type of whatever. But either way, I also want to say real quick before we get into it, because we're going to start with the Cage trailer. We're also on Facebook and Twitter and iTunes, so search us on those. You can just search Netherkast on any of those. Facebook is obviously just /Netherkast. Twitter is just /Netherkast. iTunes, just search Netherkast. So follow us on all those. Definitely helps. And yeah, let's get into this. So the first thing we got last week is, and I guess Jason was revealed too. That's kind of a big deal. Maybe not. Nobody really cares about Jason, but not on this podcast anyways. But no, definitely not a big fan over here. By the way, Temp, we need to go through those movies like you said we would.
Yeah, we gotta do that, don't we?
We do. Don't sound too excited now.
It's gonna be great.
Well, he's thinking of Jason X. That's all I can see in his mind.
We'll just have to figure out how we want to do it. Do we want to like record it as it's happening and give our thoughts, or do we just want to do reviews and watch them on our own time? We'll have to discuss that.
Definitely reviews. Reviews.
Here's an idea. Do a riff.
The riffs are coming. The riffs are definitely coming. What's up, Shadowloo?
I think you should just like splice together all the killing scenes into just like one 45-minute long marathon, because that's all anyone really cares about.
Supreme Jason demonstration.
Seriously, a fatality demo for Jason.
Yeah,
it's on YouTube.
Feldman.
It's on YouTube.
All the deaths and Corey Feldman scenes.
But yes, obviously, all kidding aside, I'm a huge fan of Jason. I think it was within our first, it was like episode maybe 5 or 6 where I went on a huge Friday the 13th like passion speech where I was like begging WB and NetherRealm Studios to please put Jason in, thinking that there was no chance or very little chance. And obviously here and now, finally revealed, so I'm a happy little schoolboy in that regard. Wait.
Christmas came early.
Why does it have to be a schoolboy? Why do I have to be... I'm a man, damn it. No, I'm just kidding.
You know, I was totally about to pull an Always a Bridesmaid, Never a Bride
Oh, wait,
line.
that's me.
Like, schoolgirl, maybe? That's what you want.
But yes, we'll get to Jason and everybody's thoughts on that. Obviously, there's not much to talk about right now, because there hasn't been anything shown other than the fact he did like the little Goro walk up to the screen, Jason lives type of thing. But other than that, there wasn't much to discuss. So either way, let's start off with the Cage trailer and let's dissect it a bit and give our opinions on it. I, for one, just to get my opinions out of the way, because I've already commented on it a bunch when we did I think we did a review video on that. Razor and I did as well. And yeah, I thought it was really fucking cool. I think Johnny Cage looks fantastic. I think living up to his portrayal in MK9 was going to be no easy feat because he was so damn good in 9. I think during our retrospective, we all said that was our favorite Johnny Cage, if I remember correctly, both look and presentation-wise. So that wasn't going to be easy for them to do, and I gotta say, it's still out on whether I like him more than MK9. The voice is a little bit it's going to take getting used to. I wouldn't say it's bad by any means. It's just going to take a little bit getting used to the new voice actor. But overall, really digging Johnny Cage's moves, his specials, his variations are really interesting. His fatalities, amazing. I think that's easily one of my favorite fatalities of all time. MKX is actually stacking themselves with a lot of good fatalities thus far, so I'm interested to see. We haven't seen a lot of people's second fatalities, which is a first. I feel like they usually show a lot of the fatalities by release time, so that's pretty awesome that we haven't seen a lot of them. Because I think, small tangent real quick, in MK9 I was blown away by Scorpion's Nethergate fatality, or whatever it was called. I think it was the Nethergate fatality, because I don't think I saw it until in-game. I think we all thought he still had that sword fatality that ended up being sent off to Quan Chi instead.
Yeah, I don't call it the Nethergate fatality. I just call it the good one.
Yeah, it is really, it's really good. I love that one.
of Hell.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
So I saw that first time in game, and that was a hell of an experience. So I'm hoping we'll get a lot more, like where we haven't seen a lot of them, which obviously we haven't, and obviously all the brutalities and anything. But regardless, Johnny Cage is absolutely fantastic. Great pop culture reference with The Shining, of course, and yes, Johnny Cage, loving everything about it. Sonya looks good. Cassie's great as always, so I'll let everybody else kind of get their opinions in, but that wraps up mine.
Well, just for the most part, I'll start with the negative, because there's a lot of positive, but just to get the negative out of the way. I feel like the voice, I have a lot of the same issues, but I feel like it's more of a symptom, because I feel like the humor from Johnny Cage in the previous game wasn't so much that he was cracking jokes all the time, is that he really believed the things he was saying. When he said, "I'm so pretty," it didn't come off to me that he was making a joke. It's that he believed it, and he felt like he needed to articulate that, and that was funny to me. Now it seems like he's making a lot of wisecracks. He's not so much the overconfident, oblivious guy. He's the funny guy in the classroom sort of type now, and that isn't as cool to me. And the voice, because it's a little more of a tenor voice, less baritone, the confidence doesn't ring as high. It's a little more nasally. It's a little less low end to it. So I feel like that's still distracting. I don't think you should recast anything unless you absolutely have to. But this is an instance where it really kind of rubs me off. As in with Bloom on Sub-Zero, didn't bother me at all. I think Sub-Zero still sounds really good, but I like Bloom, so that's a plus for me. But what do you guys think?
I can buy that 10 years down the line, he's a little bit less wisecracky, a bit more self-aware. So I could buy it for plot purposes and as an intentional toning down of his character to the extent that you could actually tone down a guy like Johnny Cage. But there is still something really lacking since MK9. I don't remember the original Johnny Cage voice actor's name, but no, like
Jeff Pilson.
Jeff Pilson. Then
Jeff Pilson. Yeah, he's apparently the drummer for Foreigner, which would explain why was apparently unavailable.
Touring.
Yeah.
Yes.
Most
probably touring.
He doesn't need no instructions to know how to rock.
My brain just exploded. That's the greatest thing I ever heard, and I'm 10 times more disappointed he's not back.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I said.
Well, if Johnny motherfucking Cage wanted to know what love is, then Jesus Christ, he's really got the entire fan base behind him now, doesn't he?
He's hot-blooded. Check it and see.
But yesterday is gone. We don't have that voice actor anymore, so that's a shame.
Johnny Cage is no longer a jukebox hero. He doesn't have stars in his eyes.
I try to put out that like Foreigner or like that 180s band that like you hear a song on the radio, it's like, who did this? Odds are it's Foreigner. They have so many different like sounds to them. I was mind blown when I looked at the Foreigner Greatest Hits album. And I'm like, that was them. That was them too. That's Johnny Cage.
They could have made a cold as ice joke.
You know.
Yeah, right.
But no,
missed opportunity there.
I'm not gonna like say that the new voice actor is in any way, shape, or form superior to the old, because that's a really, really high bar to meet, and I need to hear more. But I can buy a slightly more mature version of Cage. He's still funny. That's what counts.
I feel like the humor's not as effective to me. Like it's the whole hashtag you suck. It's not as funny to me as him doing a split kick and going, "Hey-o," like that's funny to me. Like I could see
that's going to be really dated in like 10 years too. Is
the hashtag you suck?
Yeah, but I mean that might be part of Johnny's character, that it would be appropriate for him to say things that will be very quickly dated.
Right, and I was gonna chime in with that is he's a dad now, so maybe the whole point that he's like hashtag you suck. He's the dad that
humor.
it's dad jokes, and that's kind of funny if you think about it. Is Cage used to
spin on it?
Yeah, he used to be this playboy, very comedic, arrogant, brash person, and now he's the dad that's kind of
he's trying to keep his finger on the pulse, but like every time he says something, Cassie groans. That's what I want to see.
Right, I would not be surprised if that's the direction they're taking.
I think it's going to come down to the interactions because. Well, if you take a look at the writing, either you take the original voice actor or take the new one, who, by the way, do you know who the new voice actor is? Quite famous. Anyone
it's
here
the Mass Effect guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Kaiden Alenko.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I've said before,
that was a surprise.
The stream video or the Cage family trailer video, whichever one that we did, I said I hate both of the characters he's played for BioWare. So, like, it's really hard to get that out of my head. But,
so you hate
like, those guys, the problem was they were extraordinarily bland, and Johnny Cage is very much not. So maybe this will be his chance to impress me.
Yeah, I think it comes down to his voice style, because he does a lot of subdued, those silent type of characters. You take a look at Karth from Knights of the Old Republic. You take a look at Kaiden Alenko. Those aren't the type of bombastic characters like Johnny Cage. So I think it really comes down to the interactions between characters. So if they are going to write those jokes well, then probably it's going to work because, 25 years after, Johnny Cage is not going to be the young, brash superstar. You know what I mean, yeah? So it's.
Well, the
I
other
think
thing
it's
is,
logic.
like Temp said about his humor sounding more self-aware. Like that's sort of that's character development you have to have. Like after all the things he's been through, he can't still be the guy who doesn't know what's going on. And
Exactly.
Well,
so
I mean, to me, it's not even just the self-aware thing. It's just that I don't know. I feel like if Johnny Cage was going to evolve, the humor wouldn't change; it would disappear. That's my and Shadowloo, I think, was one who brought up the self-aware thing in regards to the jokes, and I think that would be there to an extent. But what do you guys think?
I think Johnny's nature is to not take things seriously. Like even when, like if you look at Deadly Alliance, people looked at his old bio in that game where he's like, I don't want to make a movie where I die. Johnny Cage never dies. A lot of people took that as a retcon of MK3. No, it was him in denial. Like, he doesn't handle serious things well.
Yeah, and I love that, too. I always took that angle as well, and I guess it is a preference thing. For me, I just feel like in the previous game, we had Jack Burton. In this game, I feel like we have Jamie Kennedy, and I guess I'm still adjusting to that.
I'm going to take a kind of a grim example here, and I think that the basic gist of what I want to communicate is once a funny guy, always a funny guy, no matter what kind of shit you go through, and I just want to toss out the name Robin Williams.
I was thinking you were going to say that.
Lord fucking knows that, dealing with depression and using humor and, it doesn't necessarily have to be depression, but going through any kind of pain. Like, you get a lot of people out there that like to use humor as a kind of a way to cope with that. And I could see that Cage, having gone through some shit in the entire invasion of Earthrealm and Lord knows what else in that 10-year interval, would absolutely, although becoming older and wiser, still stick with the jokes, forced or otherwise.
Yeah, the vast majority of professional comedians are people who suffer with depression or have had shitty lives or just really unhappy with the way the world is, and that's why they do comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Or there is another possibility. It reminds me a little bit of Spider-Man with the wisecracking to disguise the insecurity, maybe. So I think Cage really depends on playing up this attitude, basically, just to get himself going. I mean, take a look at what happened in MK9. Basically, they lived through a fucking genocide, so no one comes out of there untouched. Hell, Raiden didn't... Yeah?
I just said that, like, it's good that you brought that word up, insecurity, because I think that insecurity actually is a very, very big part of Johnny's character, like, dating back to, like, the old games in the movie. It's like, I'm here to prove that I am not fake. I have to prove this to the entire world. I'm a real guy. The movies and everything. It's kind of become very much a part of his character.
Well, he has to prove he is the special effects. So, yeah. And
I do
now,
agree.
basically,
Yeah, go on.
after all, everything else, so I think maybe he doesn't need to rely on the same type of humor anymore. I mean, most probably those people who count, I mean, oh, God knows who he is. He's the champion of Raiden. I think he is secure enough and more mature enough not to do the same type of humor again.
I'm sticking with dad jokes. I'm calling it right now. It's going to be a lot of dad jokes with Cassie just rolling her eyes like we're talking about.
Most probably.
Yeah.
I just want to stop and say that I fucking love the MK series. Where else can you psychoanalyze a character in a fighting game? I love this. It's wonderful.
Not just nut punches, but a nutcase.
All right, so Chrome, what's your thoughts on the Cage trailer?
Oh, well, it was short. It's pretty much basically what I expected. I think the big surprise was the voice acting for me. Otherwise, well, it was basically on the same keynotes that MK9 left off. So we see the Sonya, the Cage relationship. There is obviously there's a breakup. So nothing really extraordinary that someone couldn't really pretend not to foreknow or calculate before everything else. It was pretty decent. There wasn't anything really outstanding like in the story trailer, but it had some pretty high notes, I think. The gameplay was probably the most interesting thing. I am not really an MK player anymore, but I genuinely felt interesting to see how Johnny Cage plays. And the definition and the dissection of the character movements, I think Johnny Cage looks kind of different. You take a look at how he moves. It's not the same kind of quasi Bruce Lee easygoing stance, everything else. He plays I don't know. It looks a little bit off to me, but in a good way.
Well, I have a curiosity then. You say you're not really an MK player, but clearly you're still following the series.
Yeah.
Are you just still interested in the characters and the story more so than the gameplay these days, or?
Yeah, actually, the main thing I revisit the MK series basically is the story. Well, we know how the writing went in the previous game, but the presentation was pretty nice. I mean, it's a lot better than anything else the Japanese fighting games put forward. But obviously, that's a completely different animal. But
yeah,
and I think this game is even more cinematic, and I think it's going to be pretty good. I'm more interested in the actual methodology and how they present the story than what's actually happening. So not necessarily the content that's interesting, but the method by which they are presenting the story.
Gotcha.
I would definitely say I definitely agree in terms of the art design, because I've always said if the story takes a turn where I can't really dig it anymore, as long as the aesthetic is preserved and it still looks really good, because Mortal Kombat is such a unique art style, then I'm on board. I'm always going to be in. That's always been my stance.
Art style is a big thing for me, yeah.
And this
feels... Yeah?
I just want to say, I just think that this is really kind of like, in terms of presentation and atmospherics, this really does feel like a logical extension of the kind of MK4 darkish presentation, but kind of cranked up to 11 a little bit. This is, in terms of, displaying warfare between like realms and whatnot, and actually getting to see more of the NetherRealm in the background and like exploring that. And I have a feeling that this is going to be like kind of almost, in terms of presentation, MK4 the way I think it almost should have always been, maybe.
Yeah. Well, I think this is going to be partially MK4 done right. I think it's not a big secret that I absolutely loathe MK4, but I think the core idea of MK4 can work, and I really dig the aesthetics of the new game. I think the design-wise, I am a huge fan of the MK, Deadly Alliance, Armageddon era, Herman Sanchez, I think, and the others did an absolutely wonderful job, and I think a little bit of that continues into this one. And also I see a little bit of MK4 done right in this one. not going to run ahead, but I think when you take a look at Shinnok in MK4, and even if you disregard the limitations of that engine, you take a look at his design and take a look at how he is designed in this game. And now they have the ability to add all these extra peculiar details on him. I think now I may give Shinnok a chance, because when I looked at him originally, well, he was basically, who the hell is this? Inverted Pope hat?
I liked it, but what run something by you then? How do you feel about the mythology, Shinnok? How do you feel about his design with the robe and the wizardry aesthetic?
I never got to play MK Mythologies because I never had the chance to buy it. But when I took a look at it, I was already well into the Armageddon time. So it was around the time when Armageddon came out. I took a good look at a long play at that. I mean, not long play, let's play. And, I'm sorry, but techno hell is not really that much interesting. It has this 90s comic book cool as hell high technology concept that really contrasts with the pre-established canon of MK4. MK3 went out of the original aesthetics of the Eastern martial arts tournament with some Western elements in it, and it inverted it. Okay, it could work. With Trilogy, it rectified it a little bit, but when I took a look at Quan Chi, I mean, who the hell is this guy? It's basically an escape from a German goth festival with some spiky armor, and who the hell is he? What are they doing? They are talking about amulets, stuff. Well, if I hadn't known what happened in MK4 before, I would have been absolutely lost. It has some good ideas. The basic concept is not that bad, but the presentation kills it for me.
I just want to clarify. I love MK4 for what it is, but I just feel like the universe doesn't feel as expanded or as dramatic as I suppose as MK3 did. And for the record, I love Techno Hell. I really do. Sorry.
I think that could work. When I think about the concept of Techno Hell, put these two words together, you can work with it. But I don't think they could really do that.
I think actually what they're doing right now is a little bit of a nod to it. They're not like going overboard in mythologies like the way they were with like the searchlights and like the people with like laser guns and whatnot. But when I look at
giant
the cross,
walking mechs with chainsaws,
pretty much
dinosaur riders with flamethrowers,
it's like, the concept is okay, but some of those enemies. What I'm saying is like the crossroad stage. If you look at that, you've got like some steel pylons in the background with like these like horns coming out the side, and that's what I feel that they really should have gone with originally, which is why I'm in love with that stage.
And also the bridge that connects the rest of the NetherRealm to Quan Chi's pyramid or fortress. That could work. Anyone here familiar with the Retsu Puree? The Slow Beef and Diabetes? Two guys who basically invented Let's Play in video format back in 2007. They did a Let's Play of mythologies, and I have to give them credit. They played through the entire thing. But basically they commented on a third person played it through. But when it came to the middle of the game and they first met the dinosaur rider with the flamethrower, they cracked up, and yes, I think that is a big point of contention, because it comes out of nowhere. There is absolutely no context why there are dinosaur rider cyborgs in the NetherRealm. That was the point when they literally cracked up laughing, because it comes out of nowhere and contrasts so much with the rest of the coolie hat wearing Asian gods, stone temples, water temples, everything else. It's like the whole game in the first part, I think it's okay, but it does this U-turn in the middle of it, and a lot of people didn't like it. I was at odds with MK3 originally, and a lot of people were at odds with MK3 originally, and when MK4 came out, to be fair, one last thing, to be fair, I don't think Mythology is as bad as MK4, but that's entirely subjective from my point, because I had a hell of a time getting MK4 to work with. I played it through 5 years, and looking back, MK4 doesn't hold up for me. There's a lot of the stuff why it doesn't hold up for me.
I think a lot of people feel that way.
Yeah,
It isn't up there with 2 and 3 for me. I still enjoy it for what it is, and I don't know why for the life of me they won't do a downloadable port of it, or at least gold. But I don't know. I feel like it's such a part of the series that it's wrong to ignore it, even if it is fundamentally flawed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoy
if you take away all the dressing and the core story concept, works. Yeah, it works on paper. It's not the story that I have problems with. It's the presentation and the characters and the general laziness of the program, the engine, basically. MK4 was rushed. It shows extremely. Take a look at the shadows, for example. They are black rectangles. That was unacceptable in 1998. There is one thing that the engine does good, and it's it's not dynamic lighting, but it has some pretty decent light effects for the time, on par with Quake 2, for example. But the coding, the game balance, and everything else is...
there was no balance in that game, none whatsoever.
Absolutely.
Now,
basically,
I always love that basically everybody has the exact same moves.
The exact same infinite.
the normals. Everybody's normals are the same.
Yeah.
You jump in and it's high punch, like high kick. Everybody has that combo.
High
and
kick,
that's all you need.
High punch, low kick, high kick, back high kick, roundhouse. Yes, basically.
If I remember right, the tier list for that game was something like Scorpion, Reiko, everyone else. I might be
sounds about right.
No. The top 3 contenders were the 2 ninjas. Finally, because they sucked in the first 2 games, and I think in the third one, but there was no Scorpion original in the third one. Scorpion and Sub-Zero are pretty high on the tier list, mostly because with Sub-Zero you can abuse the get out of animation from the ice clone, and most of you probably played it on the consoles, yes?
Arcade, console, and also
Try playing it on the PC. I always played it on the PC.
I would never do that to myself. I'm sorry, I've never been able.
I know. I have trained spiders instead of hands, so I prefer the keyboard. So,
oh god, I thought you meant like with a control pad or something. You did that on a keyboard?
Yes, and I prefer a keyboard to this day to the Xbox or the PlayStation controllers. Yeah. I actually tried to hook up my keyboard to play MK9.
You know, I can see that. I've gotten pretty good at playing video games with a keyboard thanks to like Mugen and stuff.
Yeah, but on the other hand, I'm a killer with a keyboard because I can speed write. So, as I said, train spiders. There is one other thing with the game balance, though. If you try to play it on your own on the PC, it's not a big problem. If you play it with a friend on the same keyboard, there is a problem, because one keyboard has a set limit of number of buttons you can push. And if you, for example, with Sub-Zero, if you abuse the slide, which basically requires 3 or 4 buttons to push, you may simply overload the input from the keyboard, and you can basically block every input from the other player. So you're pushing buttons and nothing happens. And you could abuse the Bone Breaker move with Scorpion. Spear, Bone Breaker, Spear, Bone Breaker, Spear, Bone Breaker. And if you're doing it extremely quickly, there is absolutely no chance of the opponent getting in anything.
Well, just seeing 2 people use the same keyboard sounds overly intimate for a gaming experience anyway. I don't know if I can do that.
This is the only scenario in which I can possibly ever say that MK Gold on the Dreamcast is probably a better idea. Also, I think I now understand why people look at me funny when I say that I play shooters with a PS4 or PS3 controller.
Take it into consideration, though. Take it into consideration, though, that not everyone had a PC, let alone a console. In fact, buying a PC was cheaper than buying a gaming console. And to this day, I am primarily a PC gamer. So when MK9 came out to the PC, I was absolutely overjoyed. Then I saw how the compatibility issues worked with my current DirectX drivers, and I basically lost a handful of hair because of that.
Okay.
And now I'm almost bald. Basically, if I don't have this patch of hair right in front of my head, above my eyes, I basically could look like Dairu.
Yeah, I'm getting there too. I'm in a similar boat. Like, I miss my long, beautiful locks, but that time's passing, unfortunately.
My hair's down to my butt. It's
All right,
not anymore.
This seems like a great point to bring it back to the Johnny Cage trailer.
Yes.
When we're talking about each other's hairlines. Okay, so
we're all going Kano. In fact, Kano isn't going Kano anymore. That bugs the shit out of me.
Johnny's got some really classy-looking gray streaks. There's our natural lead-in.
Yeah.
Shadowloo, did you give your opinions on the Johnny trailer yet?
Well, shit, we're kind of running over time on this, but in brief, that is the best fatality anyone has ever had. Certainly that Johnny Cage has ever had. I really enjoyed having our first brief look at Jax, because just seeing those spikes on his shoulders and like, again, that kind of like techno doomish look that they gave his arms and the armor he's got on. I am so looking forward to seeing like what Kung Lao and the rest of them are going to look like. And it's going to break my heart when I can't play as them looking like that, because now we've seen Jax, we've seen Sindel as Revenants, we've seen Katana, and they all have this unique Revenant look of their own. Like, it really works for the character. They haven't fucked up there once, at least that I'm aware of. And so when we finally get to see the likes of Cabal and Stryker, and Lord knows especially Smoke, I'm gonna lose my shit, and I'm gonna go, oh my god, why can't you give me that as a skin? I'm looking forward to the heartbreak more than a little bit. But that aside, Jesus, what else can I say? It was enticing to see Melina for a little while, and obviously I'm loving the fact that, Johnny and Sonya still have this antagonistic relationship. It's, my ex-wife's a pain in the ass. Just that, the whole story mode is just me filled with that, like, back and forth between them. I'm hoping that it doesn't get like all cliched and that they fall back in love at the end or whatever have you. This is MK. I'd expect one of them to die, but no.
It's gonna
I really
happen.
hope not myself.
It's gonna happen.
But that aside, like, the banter between those two alone is going to be so wonderful. Now, this trailer has given me so much to look forward to. And that's my thoughts on it. Good looking out.
Razor?
Well, I mean, I'm just going to be repeating everything I said in the previous video, so...
Right.
It bugs me a little that both Johnny and Sonya, their primaries look so much the same as their alts. Like, I wouldn't mind the bland military flak jacket look they've both got going on if they had, like, a second costume that was more colorful, or, especially in Johnny's case, like, where are the track pants with his name down the legs, or something like that,
Most probably we're getting it.
Yeah,
I hope so. Like, I hope everybody has 3 costumes and not just the people who are Revenants. That's...
Well, have you seen the alternative for Cassie Cage? I think that's...
Yeah, I have seen hers. The one with, like, she's sort of in, like, athletic wear, like, she's been to the gym, like...
Right.
Yeah.
Her neck looks so bad in that picture.
Yeah.
But anyway, go on.
I'm hoping that's, like, an old shot and her anatomy's been fixed since then.
I don't know, man.
We've been
seeing long Cassie neck for a good long while now.
She has.
At this point, I don't know if it's something that that's gonna be fixed before launch.
Well, that's something to be concerned about, but yeah, I do like that costume is so much different from her primary. Like, that's what an alternate should be. So like
contrast.
I don't know, it just bugs me that the two we've seen for both Sonya and Johnny are so similar to each other. Sonny
Cage.
Gotta go
children
fast.
Of Johnny Cage. Johnny Cage.
Can't wait to see Sony PlayStation's alternate costume.
Johnny Cage would totally do product placement.
Hope it gets a classic PS1.
Imagine on the wedding night, the Sonya PlayStation.
Console exclusive skins where he's like pimping out Sony on one and Xbox on another one. All right, Johnny Cage is up for sale.
That would be cool, though.
They've never capitalized on. It could be a good a good idea for Johnny. The NASCAR sort of wear like patches of sponsors all over himself.
Just don't make him look like anyone from Idiocracy.
I do agree, though. Like, I love the vest and the hood costume, but now that I've seen that, the other one, the one earlier in the war, looks kind of redundant. It's like I feel like they did the same thing twice.
That's what leads me to believe he's got to have some sort of different alternate. I think it's fair to think that someone like Johnny and Sonya this time around will get a third alternate or whatever.
You know what? I'd like to see the tuxedo back. It's been a little while. It was the last time, like Deadly Alliance, Armageddon, if you want to count it.
Armageddon to Deadly Alliance.
Yeah.
But,
Didn't he have a suit?
MK4.
He had a suit.
Just not a tuxedo.
It's all about
It had a bow
tie,
tie, but it was like untied.
Yeah, in MK9 he had like the whole Vice City looking getup.
Yeah, that suit was a direct throwback to the old MK1 comic because it was green and pink.
Yeah. But yeah, tuxedo.
Miami
Crossing the
Vice,
fingers.
Johnny Cage.
All right, well, that'll cover the Johnny Cage trailer, and let's move on to the story trailer or gameplay that we saw in the stream on Friday. And
Well, before we do that, I do want to say one thing. Like, there's been a lot of, and I mean, this is not new at all, just people complaining, why are Sonya and Johnny both in the game if Cassie's in the game, and she's so much like them, and she doesn't have so many of their moves, and it's like... That's just really frustrates me that people are still going on and on about that.
yeah,
Actually, I think she might have none of them, their moves. Basically, those are variations. I mean, he has this upward, downward shadow kick. I think that's regular for her, no?
Yeah. There's I mean, there's little similarities here and there. Like, she has her own version of the nut punch. She doesn't do a split. She drops to her knees, like punches with both fists.
Yeah.
She has, I think she has the shadow flip kick.
Backward cartwheel kick, I think.
Doesn't she have
hers
missiles?
Hers definitely has a different arc than
Yeah,
like
it's like Lex Luthor and Sector's missiles kind of combined.
Yeah.
They are not going to talk much about it. They are going to be preoccupied with Jackie. So
We'll see.
Well,
I have
like,
no
the
idea.
thing-
Jackie is
like,
an
as
interesting
far as-
subject for sure. Yeah.
there,
as far
I
as
think it might be a
the
little
Sonya
justified.
moves that Cassie has, they're ones that Sonya didn't even get until MK9. Like, they're not her classics. She doesn't do the ring toss or the leg grab.
Yeah.
She jacked that cartwheel from Lee May anyway, so...
Well, I think
But
Sonya had the cartwheel in MK4.
Did she?
I think so.
You might be right.
Had a backwards arcing kick that basically did a full cartwheel, but it was
Yeah,
weird.
like
it was
Sonya's
moving
cartwheel has
forward.
always gone forward and Cassie's goes backward.
Yeah. Well, yes, Cassie's is physically possible. Sonya's not, but that's another kind of stuff. So.
But you're right, I'm looking at the special moves. Okay, I'll give her the cartwheel then.
Whole
It's
series
still
is
those aren't moves that I associate with Sonya, and I don't think Sonya has them in this game.
Either way, it's like we've gotten to the point where NetherRealm will make every character feel different regardless of how related they
thankfully.
are or how many clones, and I use that in quotation marks type, that they're gonna play differently. They don't have two characters that play exactly the same anymore. So this is a moot argument at this point because this isn't 10 years ago. So it's just
The thing that bothers me the most is people are talking about story roles and how they should just be NPCs, and I'm like, well, look, they were the only two heroes to survive MK9. They can't not be in the game.
Yeah.
Just be thankful that they're there, as opposed to Shiva or Sector, somebody who survived MK9 and doesn't seem to be showing up at all.
Yeah. Or C-listers.
We have joked about it, but it's true. If you died in MK9, you have a better chance of being in this game than if you survived it.
Yeah.
It's true.
I really didn't like that at first, but so far I think it's going to look, play, and I think it's going to feel good. I'm not really against it as much as I was previously because I am a huge, huge fan of the 3D era characters. And, well, there's the other thing that most of them got deconfirmed, and I am really not keen on seeing poor Moloch's head being tossed around like a volleyball all the time by the chalk-faced fuck.
Hey.
I've joked about that, and I
Sorry.
am sorry. and to the one Moloch fan that I said I felt bad for.
Oh, that makes two of us.
Which
Good.
is no. I'm just saying. I had an earlier moment on this podcast where I said I can understand how like the one Moloch fan out there would feel shitty. I just want to let you know that I understand and I'm here for you.
I do want to comment though that I definitely do agree that Quan Chi is a chalked-faced fuck, because I've never been a fan of that character, and I'm glad someone finally agrees with me.
I was a fan of him back in, like, when he first debuted. Like, I liked him in Mythologies. I liked him on, like, the Conquest TV show.
Oh,
I thought he was an interesting, charismatic character back when he used to wear clothes.
Hey.
And, like, I sort of slowly started losing interest in him after Deadly Alliance, mostly because of the fact that Scorpion couldn't kill the motherfucker. Like, just have closure, finish your storyline, Jesus.
You can
it's
only
not necessarily Scorpion. You know,
and then MK9 just really sealed the deal.
You know what
I'm
the
so
biggest
tired
problem
of
with Quan Chi is? Overexposure. Everything happens
that's a good word
because
for it.
Quan Chi thought about it. I am not going to be surprised when it turns out that Quan Chi is an elder god right from the beginning.
You can only
I can totally foresee that.
Like down someone's throat for so long until they start to object. Quan Chi's history is a long one of just punking everybody in the cast. Guess what, Shinnok? I have your amulet. Guess what, Scorpion? I killed your family and clan. Guess what, Sub-Zero? I set you up. Guess what, Shang Tsung? Well, I took everything that you ever took,
Now I'm going to ride that.
Guess you can steal souls now.
Everyone's fucking tired of the guy now. Almost everyone. I'm sorry, and I'm going to get to this later on.
Yeah,
but
probably we're going to get to Shang and we can talk about that, because I have a lot to say about that.
Well, because we're going to talk about, like, the achievements and shit, like the actual, like, the leaked ones, well, not leaked, but, like, through the Xbox site. And I just I want to say briefly that I'm kind of crossing my fingers at this point, because in, like, the last 2 weeks, we've seen so much about Shinnok. In, like, he's got pictures in these achievements. You can see him fighting, like, Johnny and Sonya at the same time, obviously. We know he gets sealed in that amulet. And after all this time, there's, like, almost no footage out there of, like, Quan Chi doing much of anything. So I'm hoping and I'm praying that this is the game that starts off with Shinnok going, oh, by the way, I knew you took my amulet. Go fuck yourself.
That's going to be awesome if that's going to happen.
I want that to happen so badly. I really do.
Basically, something needs to happen that goes against Quan Chi's designs. We have never seen the motherfucker fail anytime.
He needs to go down.
Dragon King got his ass, but even then he teleported away. But whoop-de-fucking-do. Sorry.
We're all tired of him.
My big hope that the leaked bios are real is because Scorpion and Sub-Zero's bios say they team up to get him, and that's the best possible way he could ever die, because those two characters have more cause than anybody to be the reason that he's
MK9 ending, arcade ladder from Sub-Zero, that needs to happen. That absolutely needs to happen.
It's just been such a long time coming, and this series has such a problem with paying off rivalries. Like, Sonya never settles things with Kano. Liu Kang didn't get to be the one who kills Shang Tsung. Kenshi never gets anybody who he's after. It's time for somebody to be killed by their actual archenemy, and Quan Chi's archenemies are Scorpion and Kuai Liang. It's time that it happened.
And don't do it off screen either, you know? Like,
yeah, exactly.
With Sector, unfortunately.
Yeah, that drives me nuts.
Yeah, there are
to have a character who survived 9 and then kill them off before 10 starts, why did you leave them alive in 9?
We'll see.
Because we do not know where to go for
yet.
the next game. Yeah.
We don't know.
There are 3 rivalries that needs to be tied up, and I think there are two possibilities. The Sub-Zero Scorpion team up as the next Deadly Alliance could work, and there was a time when I think the GameStop advertisement was when they basically verbally so-called confirmed, because that's a word that's going to be tossed around a lot of times in the next few weeks. They confirmed
The next
Shang
few
Tsung,
weeks, we've heard
Yeah.
that shit for months.
Yeah.
Everybody's confirmed at this point. If you ask other
Yes.
people.
Except for mocap.
Yes, of course.
Wah wah.
Oh, my balls.
Okay. Yeah, like, well, no, go on. But after that, I want to mention the stream one more time, but
Okay.
go for it.
Well, Scorpion Sub-Zero, and I've had one thing. I think I'm going to mention it when I get to Shang Tsung and YouTube guys too. That maybe another Deadly Alliance could be is a very pissed off Liu Kang with a really pissed off Shang Tsung against Quan Chi. I would love to see that.
God, that would make my day.
Absolutely.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I could really just about like go for a 20-minute montage of the entire MK cast just lining up and cracking their knuckles with Quan Chi like tied to a post.
Got Fonzie over here.
Hey!
Reiko,
No,
why are you here? Reiko, why are you here? Don't you work for him? I just never liked the guy.
Yeah.
No, I was
Charred
like-
undead Liu Kang teleports in and yells, "The pain train is not going to stop here." And they are going to pull an all-nighter on poor Quan Chi.
Oh, come on now.
I really like Quan Chi. I do not like the way they are overusing him. It's like if you drink too much beer, you're going to end up comatose.
It's a lot of beer. It's a lot of Quan Chi.
Yeah.
I did
Too
wanna
much
jump
Quan
in,
Chi
though,
sends you
that-
to a coma.
Yeah, well, I've been in the Quan Chi coma for years now. I'm ready to wake up. I'm ready to snap. Just, get out of the hospital bed. Just wash the Quan Chi off my skin. But, no, I was just going to throw in, since before we close the stream talk, I do want to say, if you're going to reach out to the community to take requests for questions and tweets, I get they can only answer 3 questions. I get that, but, the game's almost out, and a lot of people really have their hopes up, especially for some of the more niche characters like Fujin. Now's the time to start deconfirming. Cyborg and Razor said it best. Let people be disappointed now so they can get over it when the game comes out, Like the mocap thing was kind of funny, but it's starting to hit home now, because let people just get disappointed now. Don't keep their hopes up, so when, April hits, they have to get pissed off then. I don't know why they can't start saying reasonable expectations, And also, some of those questions, I think they could have picked 3 better questions, but that's preference. But I really thought the mocap thing, that's something that should have been done in January. I like Sean Hemmerich, I love you, dude, I do. But I just feel like for the next game, we should set better expectations so the fans can be excited and not be they're not chasing a string. The carrot's been in their face for such a long time, that is one thing I would definitely throw out there.
I agree, and with this, when they do these character deconfirmations, I know to them it's a joke. Like, it's a haha at the fans because everyone's constantly, like, talking about what the roster's going to be and asking for character confirmations or deconfirmations. But, I mean, in all reality, with each of these streams, they could have actually deconfirmed characters, like, say, 5 or 10 out of, like, say 5 at a time. And then toss in a couple jokes that you knew weren't going to make it, and then toss in a couple that people were actually looking forward to, but might not have made it. So why couldn't they have done that? And like Razor and I said, I believe I mentioned it during our review, I said, you can deconfirm characters that might actually end up being revealed at a later time, or deconfirm them that are supposed to be super secret that you want to save for release, because then at least people will be happy when they load up the game and realize, those sons of bitches, they lied to me. These characters are actually in the game. Or, of course, it'll all leak before the game comes out, unfortunately. Somebody will get their hands on the copy, especially now that it's gone gold, which, congratulations, by the way. I was going to mention that at the top of the show. Congratulations to NRS for getting the game done, so that's awesome. Good work, guys.
Probably had a murderous crunch time, but yeah.
Yeah. But my point was, deconfirm all these characters that are pretty much up in the air, because that way people stop. I shouldn't be the guy to say this because I get enough shit because I'm always the one to say it. But so that way they stop getting their fucking hopes up, just because they're gonna keep doing this up until release, because you're not telling them no, they're not in the game. They're going to keep doing this. So then when the game finally comes out, they're going to be super disappointed, and then they're going to bitch online then. Would you rather have them bitch online before the game comes out, like 4 weeks ahead, and then have time to get over it and latch onto something else and start seeing...
Maybe, because any kind of publicity is good publicity. So maybe if they are bitching, they are at least doing something. Maybe that's the way they are looking at it.
I think it's
that
I
would
think
be
they
kind of
don't want
cynical.
to deconfirm characters because there's a lot of NPCs like Lee May in there, and they don't want to be all like, "It's not playable," but you will see them because that spoils it when you see them.
Yeah.
So
But then again, you could just deconfirm that they're playable and not even mention if they're NPC or not, and then it would still be a surprise. I don't know. I just feel like there is a better way, whether it's the way I suggested or just flat out, just whatever the hell it is. There's a better way than the way it's going. But like I said, I've harped on that. I'm just throwing my 2 cents in once again, following up on what Temp said. That I just feel like this is the point where you should start, deconfirming these characters, because there is a benefit of having to get that bad mojo out of the way, because obviously not every game is going to have every character. Not every game can be Armageddon. You're going to have over half the roster left out of the initial playable roster. That's just the nature of the beast when you have so many playable characters. So get that out of the way by now, so that way all those people that are going to be disappointed, which there will be plenty, will see more things come out, and then they'll get excited again. We've all gone through that at some stage throughout this, marketing campaign or lead up to the game. We do this every time. Nobody's going to like everything they see. And yeah, there's always going to be that point, but you need something to reel them back in.
I think people should have a healthy dose of skepticism. I am prepared to see that most of the time I am not going to see the cast I really like out of MK. So there are probably not going to be only small-time cameos of the Seidan people or the MKDA or MKD characters. And no matter how I look at it, it's a high probability that most of those people will not immediately come back, maybe as DLC. But, if you have these expectations and maybe a bit of increased self-importance that I need to have these characters in the game. No, take a approach that there is a good chance that these characters are not going to be in. If they are in, then I will be pleasantly surprised. Take the stance that they are not probably in, and you are going to be better off, I think.
Yes, I've been saying that a lot. Like, lower your expectations. Lower your expectations.
That's what I say all the
worst.
time. Yeah.
Every time,
And then if you
every time someone sees like a portion of a new outfit or a screenshot with that character or X character in the game, oh my God, Lee May's in. Oh my God, Rain's in. Oh my God, Baraka's in. You're just setting your,
Fujin,
you're just
Smoke,
potentially setting yourself up for some disappointment. And I know how that feels because I stared at that little Kodal Khan slamming a dude thing for so long, and I made myself believe it had to be Smoke. There was no other way. That the skin tone was too gray. And this new Chapter 1 Story Mode video, I look at it, nope, that is very probably NetherRealm Sub-Zero up there.
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't know. Like for me,
take a look at the comics. Take a look at the comics, for example. First chapter, I open it. Oh, cool. Su Hao is in. Wham! Gets face fisted.
Dead.
Yeah, at least. Okay, they disrespected, but they gave proper due to the Hao. So
To the
How.
yeah,
I like
do
that.
not.
I like it.
like
when
that a
I
lot.
am around.
And think about this, man. Kenshi's sword is busted now. Su Hao left more of a mark on the new continuity than, as far as I'm aware, Mavado is going to have.
If I can't kill any of you, I am going to break your fucking sword.
It's something.
It's an accomplishment. I do want to say though that
Dagon demands it.
if they do tease a character, you could tell people to have healthy skepticism, but your emotions don't obey you if they put your favorite character in a trailer and then won't tell you if they're playable or not. You can tell someone to be skeptical, but my emotions don't care. My brain's trying, but You know, I just can't get that wrap around my emotions because that's the gut response, and they don't. There's that dissonance. They don't agree. So
That's the
I don't think
struggle.
it's fair to the fans to say you need to keep yourself in check and be skeptical. You can't control your reactions. I guess is what I'm saying.
No, I don't.
Perhaps
People
you
are
should
excited
become-
for things, and you want to be hyped. You want to be happy that the game is coming out because it's something that you love. We like Mortal Kombat. We want to be pleased with it, so we want it to have the things that we like.
Perhaps you
I
should
understand
do
that,
more
but
Cam.
I don't know.
Well,
Look out.
even if
See
they
how
are taken away,
disappointing the
there is
world can be.
Mhm.
I just
I'm just saying to Tim, perhaps you just need to be more jaded. Go out,
Yeah.
see how disappointing the world can be, expect the worst, maybe do some heroin, become a little dead, get a little dead inside, and then just
Be a
go,
teacher.
everything will probably go poorly.
I pulled it off with the story. With the story, I am jaded. No matter how good or bad the story is, I'm okay. But with the character playability, I'm not there yet. I'm working on it, Yeah.
Here's the thing. It's being jaded is an age and experience thing. It's something that comes when you've been disappointed more than once. And I certainly have. Like, I look back at Shaolin Monk's love to play that game. Garbage script and voice acting. Just the worst in the series.
Shaolin Monks is a
MK9,
movie
the plot
directed by Johnny
did not
Cage.
go in any way how I would have wanted it to go.
I agree with that.
And it's just, as far as gameplay, like, there's all these things they could do that they've never done. Like, you think about Kai being like the Eddie Gordo of Mortal Kombat. This game could have a capoeira character. They've never done it. That's something to be disappointed about. And then you go in future games, they're never going to put Kai in. And if they do, they're never going to make him work. They're never
Mostly
going to
because
try
they-
Motaro again. They're never
Yeah.
going to have a Bo-Rai Cho that's fun to play. It builds up in you.
But some of the characters, I think they could probably work as
No, they
better as
could, and that's the
NPCs.
sad thing. Like, if they wanted to,
Yeah.
they could do like a Kai or a fun 2D Bo-Rai Cho really easily. They're just not going to.
see. Here's the different
Most probably.
stages here, and the differences. That's pessimism, and that's one way to go about things, and that's perfectly will set your expectations low. Which, once again, that's not necessarily a bad thing. That's a good thing.
Wait,
because
wait.
I wouldn't say
Wait.
pessimism, just healthy
Yes.
skepticism.
Well, I mean,
I
skepticism.
is not pessimism. I think that's important.
Okay,
to
well,
point.
either way, I use the wrong terminology. That's my bad. Skepticism. That's a good term. So that's one way, and then there's also, I like to use the term cautiously optimistic. It's where
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
hoping, but also you're being cautious. It's like I'm not gonna make up some random analogy because I just don't feel like it because I feel like it's
there are
gonna.
things I'm cautiously optimistic about too. Like, but it depends on the character.
Right.
And it's like if I'm thinking of Johnny Cage or Sub-Zero, like I can be hopeful that he'll have some cool thing with his shadow kick, and they did that with the stunt double variation, so I'm pleased there. Or I've always wanted to see Sub-Zero pick up and throw that ice clone, or for it to be a physical thing that blocks projectiles. It does both those things now. That's awesome. Or like,
And Noob Saibot is deconfirmed because of that.
well,
Well,
it's a shame, but at
apparently,
the
yeah.
same time, the dude's soul exploded. I'm not that surprised he's not coming back. Like, I never bought into the the Soulnado carried him to another realm like it did Scorpion and Deadly Alliance thing.
God,
he
Noob
fucking
Saibot is
exploded
going
on
to be back
screen.
as
We
a
all
name.
saw it.
But yeah, I mean, like for
You can always
me,
build a new one, like they're doing with Shao Kahn.
Hey.
Cautiously optimistic is a great way to go about things because you're never going to take things at face value. You're never going to see a screenshot and think something's automatically guaranteed confirmed based off that information. You're not going to see a 2-second story trailer like Rain, etc., etc. We could give plenty of examples. The point is, you're not going to take anything at face value until you're given enough evidence to say this is 100% what I think it means. It's never going to be just. You're never jumping the gun on things because you're too cautious to do something like that. With Jason is a great example recently.
Yes.
There was a lot of things for the longest time where I was like, he's not going to be in. I hope he's in, but he's not going to be in. It just probably won't happen. He maybe has like 5%. But then as we got closer, they're going to have a stream on Friday the 13th instead of the Thursday like they usually do.
The moment they announced that they're going to have a stream on Friday the 13th,
Right.
it was basically a given.
Right. So then there builds up a more, optimistic qualities, less caution. Okay, well then they're gonna they showed the pumpkin and they're saying they have a big thing and like, okay, I was still cautious though. Even the night before when people were like, it's Jason, because people like to think that, oh, well, you're just not super hyped about this and super believing that it's going to be this just because it's not something that appeals to you. That's not it at all. I'd love to have Rain in, Lee Mei in, Fujin in. I've never been somebody that's like, I don't want them in. I'd love to see these characters that haven't gotten enough time to be developed get in the damn game. It's just, with Jason's a prime example. I've been one of the biggest like vocal persons, like passionately saying how badly I want Jason to be one of the guest characters ever since we were guaranteed 2 guest characters, and we got Freddy and MK9, and Jason was supposed to be an MK9 and got whatever reason screwed out of that. The point is, I was still cautiously optimistic even when there was so many signs that could have gotten me like, okay, he's in. It's because it could have very well, the next day, they could have revealed the Predator, and all of these other signs were pointing at a horror icon, and it just didn't happen to be Jason.
It could have been Michael Myers, like the pumpkin meant Halloween.
Right.
You know?
Who the hell knows? I mean, that's my point. It's just,
it could have been Billy Corgan.
You never put all your eggs in that basket until...
Red Durst is in a wrestling game. It's not out of the realm of possibility.
I gotta interject here. 2 points. First of all, it's not analogous in my opinion. Because in any other fighting game, if a character had a monologue in the trailer, that would have been confirmation. If, let's say Yang had a monologue in the Street Fighter V trailer, that would have been confirmation. So that's my first point. The second point...
The weird thing about Mortal Kombat, it's like Street Fighter, Tekken, those guys, they put everybody in. And if a guy isn't in, he doesn't even show up. But, like, Mortal Kombat is such a story thing, and that's sort of, like, for me, and I understand a person being all like, if they're not playable, it doesn't count. I want the character so that I can do moves with them.
But is that your impression of me? Is that what
no,
it
not
sounds
like you. It's like people on the
That's just Razor doing impressions of people.
I got you. Go on, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's just, for me, the lowered expectations, the upshot of that is now, like, when I do see Lee Mei, I'm like, oh, cool, she's in the game. I don't get to play her, but at least she's there. Like, that's what's important to me. I want them to show up. I want them to matter.
Well, that brings my second point up, though. My second point is, in a way, you guys are asking the impossible, because I tried not to have an emotional reaction, and I tried to do the whole cautiously optimistic thing, and I failed. I don't believe that was an error on my part, or even the Rain fan base's part. You can't psychologically do that. That's the perspective I was handed. Unfortunately, those were my cards, and I tried not to have that response. It didn't work. So I think the best solution is for, honestly, NetherRealm, Warner Brothers, just don't tease shit that's not in the game. If she's an NPC, let her be an NPC in the story mode. Don't rub that shit in my face.
I just feel like, I mean, obviously I would be overjoyed if I could actually play as Serena and she had really good moves. But at this point, because my expectations have been tempered the way I have, if I'm playing this game and Serena so much as shows up, and as long as they don't butcher her character or make her redesign really ugly, I'm going to be all like, holy shit, I got more or less what I wanted. Serena's actually in this game. Even if I can't play as her, that's enough.
I would be absolutely content if we have an NPC Bo Raicho in there. I don't need to have, he's vomiting and everything else, but most people really hate about
some
it.
Some characters might actually work better as NPCs, and Bo Raicho is probably one of them.
I think you're probably going to get him. But with like Kung Lao disappearing to parts unknown and him having this relative in the form of Kung Jin, I think that a Bo Raicho cameo is virtually guaranteed out of all characters.
MK9 had him in I think at least 2 or 3 endings.
We already know Kung Jin is trained by Bo Raicho, and there is a White Lotus stage in the game. So like if they go to the White Lotus temple and don't see Bo, that would be sort of weird.
Here's an idea. Maybe he has a drunken variant or some kind of drunk special move that he may have inherited.
Yeah, there is the possibility that you can fight against some of these guys. Like, they don't have 3 variations, but they have 1, and that's so you can fight against them. And I'd like to see some of that. That wouldn't disappoint me.
That is a distinct possibility, I think.
But
I'm hoping for it. It's fair. What's up?
I was just going to say, we obviously disagree, and we're not going to belabor, continually harp on it, but we've already had this thing in a previous episode, and I totally see where you're coming from, Temp. It's not that I think you're wrong by doing that. I don't think it's a matter of right and wrong. I just think it's definitely a difference in just personality wise how one deals with the information that they're given. Because when I think it was Justin and I that were watching that trailer for the very first time, we recorded our reactions. Neither of us even thought that was Lee May at first because, I mean, obviously her dialogue matches up, but we were just so blown away by everything. And then when we watched it back and realized it was Lee May, we just thought immediately NPC. You watched it and you got really hyped at the thought that, well, she's in a story trailer, this might mean she's playable. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like I said, it's all perspective. And when you're dealing with like perspective and start like saying, well, NRS shouldn't do this, shouldn't do that because of the way they might make somebody feel, you're gonna that makes them walk on eggshells because there's so many like I don't know. I feel like
I
that's
absolutely disagree with that.
I know we're on opposite sides of the fence
not
here.
Putting an NPC in the trailer is not walking on eggshells. I think that's all they had to do was just not put the NPCs
but
in.
Who said that? But who said she was playable? That was your assumption.
And it's a justified assumption when you look at any other marketing for fighting games, though. Like Razor
Deception.
said.
I mean,
It's because other fighting games don't really bother with the story. They don't have a need for NPC characters.
Like,
I think there's a way everyone wins. I think there's a way everyone can win.
When Konemitsu fucks off for like 8 games, no one cares. But like MK is so damn plot involved, and all these characters have a history, and people, even if they don't like them for like their special moves or their abilities or their playstyle, they like them because they like the character. And so in a game like this, which is supposed to explore a kind of a rough time frame, which has so many characters that people may just be curious about the whereabouts of, to not have them in at all, even in NPC form, would be ghastly.
In that case, I would say deconfirm them on Twitter and just don't keep the people in suspense. I think everyone wins that way.
That's
fair. I think there's such an easy compromise.
Well, then why don't
in the mud.
in that case, with that logic, why don't we just reveal the roster from day one and never have the hype, the speculation, or any of it?
Because you're not actively teasing Lee May in June. You're not teasing Baraka in January. This is March.
But your idea of a tease is that she was shown talking in a trailer, and she wasn't fighting. She wasn't doing anything that screamed, "Hey, this character is going to be a fighter in our game." It was screaming, "This character is going to be a person involved in the story," which she will be 100%. They're not teasing anything. Teasing's all subjective. It's all how you look at what. Teasing's purely what you think it is. To one person, she's just an NPC talking to further the plot. To another person is, oh my god, she's in the game, so that means she has a chance now. Like it's just.
Can I interject?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, 2 things you have to take into consideration. For one, MK is probably the only game who has such an extensive story mode that is basically interactive movie, so-called interactive movie. Sure. Now, take a look at the presentation of how it is done. You cannot see this in, for example, most of the other fighting games because most of them are Japanese. They have an entirely different set of rules for narratives, stylistics, specifics, and so on and so on. So they handle story very differently. They are not as, how should we say, tied down in the narrative and the progression of things that's happening in a story, because generally they take ambiguity a lot more better than we do in the West. But, for example, take the case of Lee May. You look at Lee May in the presentation, basically the trailer, and you see it as a person who is talking about an important plot point, just like in a movie. That is happening because that is how we make cutscenes. That is how we make stories. That is how it should work in order to establish a cinematic experience. So I think it is not really as... how should I say? It's not really as important to debate it whether he or she, whoever it is playable or not, because we all know that Boon and most of the other staff very much like to play with your expectations. And you know how they handle their ambiguity, so they never give a straight answer. So you might take a look at Lee May. Maybe she looks too plain, so okay,
well,
she may be an NPC.
To be fair, but go on.
Yeah, she may be an NPC, but what is the counter evidence, or how should we know that maybe that is for that only scene? Maybe she's a refugee. She has just been given clothes because she has escaped spiritual war zone, for example, because Shinnok went over with the party bus over her village. Most of the other bad guys do that. So
Hog, hog, Shinnok's party bus, all aboard for carnage!
yes. So maybe we have Heavenly May in the game where she has entirely different clothing. She is prepped up as another character. Take a look at the Baraka picture. I think the Baraka picture is a middle ground. It is not too detailed, but it is far more detailed than the average NPC in MK9 was. But then again, so is everything else. So I think at this point, there might not be such a difference between NPCs and playable characters. So it is a lot harder to identify who is going to be playable and not. And if we are speculating that, yes, there may be characters that we get to fight who we do not get to play as because they are in the story mode, maybe she is such a character. Maybe we don't fight against her, but maybe she is put in there and she has been given perhaps elaborate costumes. So,
well, I guess going with the
very
Japanese
hard
culture
to
points,
differentiate.
you're definitely right about the culture and ambiguity, because you're right. Japanese culture does take ambiguity much better, and that's definitely shown in horror films. I don't know if you guys have seen. Audition was what comes to mind, but really though, like I would still say, even though it is a cultural difference, they were still the ones to set the precedent, and that kind of monopolizes the situation. So when it comes to fighting games, we've never seen anything like that before, where a character was prominently featured in a trailer and then ended up not being applicable in the actual game.
That's always sort of been the thing about Mortal Kombat, and it's what generates a lot of like arguments on the internet, where a person will go, "Who cares about the story in a fighting game?" Mortal Kombat is different from every other fighting game.
That's fair, but is it a good thing? Is it a good thing?
Sorry.
No, definitely. Is it a good thing to set expectations on that level? Because I think the counterpoint here against me is that they're not setting expectations, and I think that couldn't be furthest from the truth. And I also think what
they are. They are setting expectations.
We've seen them do this before in Deception Conquest. You know,
I still don't think that's analogous with. Is it Rain you're referring to?
Well, I mean, there are characters who were obviously just there to talk to that you couldn't fight because they were, you know, wearing an old costume. But there were also guys like from Deadly Alliance, like you'd run into Jax or Shang Tsung, and you could fight them, but they weren't on the roster.
Oh god, I still remember Shang Tsung with Shujinko's voice.
Shadowloo, you were trying to say?
In particular, I feel that MK doesn't fall under the precedent of whoever we see could be potentially playable, because you've got what fighting game franchise do you truly have a game where everyone in the history is playable and it's not like a best of scenario? Like Armageddon may be that one game, but for Tekken, it's something like Tekken Tag Tournament or Tekken Tag Tournament 2.
Well,
like,
how
Guilty Gear
many
games,
more
it's something like
in Tag are there than in regular Tekken? Like, it's not a large difference.
But it's still the kind of game where you're actually used to seeing most of the roster. That's like the only time where I would expect to see everyone I see in a game trailer as being denoted as probably in that game. When it comes to like an installment in the series like 9 or 10, I mean, doesn't really matter who you show me, and I'm especially skeptical in the case of someone like Baraka, unless I see them sitting there duking it out with a couple of life bars and some names under those life bars. For all I know, they may be NPCs, at least when it comes to MK.
Well, for Baraka especially, what tipped off Baraka not being playable for me was that the character design doesn't look like it's not up to the quality that we've seen in the rest of the roster. That's what kind of gives me the idea that Baraka is not going to be playable for sure. But I guess in regards to Razor's point with the Deadly Alliance situation, I think you're right. The same principle absolutely does apply. Razor's definitely right about that. Does it apply to the same extent? I would say no, because those characters were playable in the previous game just 2 years before with all the same tools. So I think, and without an updated design, that also goes, that's a huge tip-off right there. So I don't think it applies to the same extent. Well, what's up?
I was just going to say, I think we're missing one important point, and I'll just throw that out there, is we keep saying this is a trailer for the game, but this is a trailer for the story mode. The trailer name of it is called MKX Story Trailer. It was story driven, all about story, only story, included nothing else but story cutscenes. So therefore, you're just taking cutscenes, and you're going to see a lot of characters. We saw a lot of henchmen, we saw a lot of guards, we saw Baraka, we saw Li Mei,
it was
we
all
saw
story
Rain.
and the Kung Jin fatality.
Right. And that's my point, though, is we saw a ton of characters. We saw, like I said, we saw Rain, we saw Baraka, and then like there was just Shinnok. We saw a bunch of characters, and clearly there's only so many spots we're gonna get. But my main point here is mentioning this. It's like the little asterisk is that this was indeed marketed as a story trailer. This was not MKX gameplay trailer. This was not like gameplay fights mixed with a couple like story things in between, like spliced in. It was story.
It was basically cutscenes.
It was story trailer, marketed 100% through and through. So therefore, and we've known since the beginning that, you know, for several interviews that they said there's going to be tons of characters in story. And it's spanning over 25 years. Obviously, we're doing a lot of flashbacks, but the point is story. So
the other thing is they didn't even like acknowledge who Li Mei is in the trailer. Like, she's just a random person telling a story about what happened to her village, and a bunch of people went, wait, Asian girl from Outworld? I bet that's Li Mei. And then Ed confirmed it on Twitter.
Here's another thing. Consider the following. They might be sparing a lot of memory with the story mode fights if those characters that are not playable are only fought in quick time events. I think that is going to happen. I think that is going to be possible because I think it's going to be the most economic way they can go about it, by trying to push in as many background characters as they can. So maybe Baraka is in. Maybe he's going to be fought just by quick time events, but Baraka is going to be in.
I have a question about how many quick time events we're going to see, because obviously this is something Injustice did first, but it only had like 4 of them in the whole game.
Eagle the 6. Yes, hopefully it's not going to be Resident Evil 6.
Well, I think that they know enough about the controversial nature of QuickTime events not to go.
Yeah, the thing about QuickTime events that drives people crazy is they're usually an instant kill. And this one, they just changed the animation, which is fine. I really
appreciate that. I can actually see myself going through story mode just to fail them and see like what happens instead.
Yeah.
Hopefully we're not going to draw biceps on my thumb.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I do have individual counterpoints for all 3 of you, but I mean, I guess we're going on a little long here. But I guess just to keep it short, I guess I'll save that for a graveyard shift. My main point is when you tell someone to be cautiously optimistic, if that's not something you cultivated over time, it's not something you can do on the spot. I think what you're asking is just not reasonable.
And like I said,
possible. It's human psychology. Yeah.
And well, I'm just saying, you're right in that it can't be done in the spot, and I completely agree with that. That's a personality thing, and that's why I was trying to say earlier, it's perspective and personality based, and also one's emotions and just how they. I mean, this goes beyond MK. This could go on to how you just go about life, how you take it, or how you take the information given to you, just everything. It's just this is a personality thing.
No,
I am the way I am,
too, but I will get to another time. But I don't necessarily agree with that.
Well, there's a reason why you're not the only person that feels this way. There's several other. I feel like the Baraka thing, the Li Mei thing, the Rain thing, the Fujin thing. It's all cut from the same cloth. Different scenarios with different factors that attribute to it, of course, with different amounts of evidence. It's all cut from the same cloth of. You're taking some sort of information and you're drawing your own conclusions from it. Whether that's right or wrong, that's what this all comes down to.
To sum it up, though, I don't think that's a conscious decision. I don't think people can control that.
It's like I said, the jadedness comes from life experience, and people have different experiences. Like, I expect things to suck because I've been let down several times in the past. And not just by Mortal Kombat, by other games, by the cancellation of TV shows. Like, I see a superhero cartoon, I'm like, it's not going to last past season 2. This is the best show I've ever seen. I'm going to have to say goodbye real soon, so don't get attached.
I won't even watch anything until it hits the 3rd season.
Just like two people can watch the same movie and get completely different opinions on it. I mean, it's all personality and just the way that you are. I mean,
Razor does bring up a really good point here, though, because the idea of being jaded, I pulled it off with a story because I wanted to be jaded, so I would never be disappointed like I was with MK9. Obviously,
I don't
the
think
problem
jaded
is
a proper word.
callous, maybe. But what happened is
I don't know.
became...
I like to prefer to say skeptic because if
well,
you
in this case, I
you
really
are-
do mean callous, as in I don't care anymore. That's literally what I mean.
Well,
but
okay. If you consider what happened in the MK9 story mode, yes. At first, I was like wanted to send a brick through the monitor. So.
oh yeah,
Yes.
Thank God I saw that on
But,
YouTube, and not on the console. But
Yeah,
well,
but-
and
I
I
had to
enjoyed
pause
it.
See, I've always said the leak was the best thing that could happen to MK9 because it meant I knew a month ahead of time how mad I was going to be, so I was less mad playing
Razor
it.
smash.
saved a lot of money.
I had to pause the fucking console when they're like, well, the tournament was actually serving no purpose at all. I'm like, no,
Purpose.
fuck you.
The Elder Gods did nothing. Sindel cast a spell. Fuck
Got
you.
up, got up,
The other
walked
gods
out,
are
had a
idiots.
cigarette every time.
But rolling with that point, though, the callousness has a consequence. And by getting jaded by the story, by coming to that point, yeah, I never got my hopes up again. But when my favorite characters started showing up as NPCs, it didn't have an effect anymore. Like, now that I'm not invested, I can't benefit from the NPC anymore.
Well, here's
You
the
know,
other
that was a
side of that.
consequence.
Is
Yeah?
for me, I've wanted them to be doing NPCs since MK9. Like, I'm mad that Bo Raicho's not in that game, like, just in cutscenes. I'm upset that, like, Reiko doesn't show up. He's the general of Outworld, and he's not, like, standing next to Khan's throne ever. And I understand, like, that, oh, we didn't have time to model these, and especially, like, in Injustice, there's all these characters, like, we see Black Canary in a photograph that Green Arrow has, but, like, where is everybody? Where's Dr. Fate? Where's... You know, it's such a big universe, and only, like, 20 people show up. It's weird. You know,
Well,
it makes
Reiko
things feel
might have a
smaller than
bad-
they should be. So
Reiko-
NPCs are an
yeah.
important thing for me.
Reiko's problem specifically is he may be dead from the comics. That might be why we're not seeing him.
Well, no, I'm talking about him in
Reiko might be
MK9.
Okay, yeah. Oh, gotcha.
I think
Okay.
he may be the big bad of the comic, what basically catches up to the game. So
Like,
I think
basically, in all of MK9, the
I'm
only
hoping.
NPC is Scarlet. And some,
Yeah.
like, gray ninjas at the tournament. There's nobody who from past games who just shows up to stand around and, like, talk. It doesn't happen, and it should, because so many characters were there. They just weren't playable until later games.
I really like Scarlet's lines.
I had to think about that. I'd actually like, what did Scar? Oh,
Gotcha.
Still, it still angers me that they just made her into another one of Khan's goons. Another one
Oh,
of
it's
Khan's
Scarlet,
ultimate
and there's
goons.
that weird chick who looks Middle Eastern, who's not a character.
Yeah.
The
and also the
Scarlet-
Gray
Scarlet-
Lin Kuei ninjas too. And
Scarlet is
Chameleon.
basically a magic
Looking
control
back on
the toy car.
Looking back on
You
that
think
that
about
whole
it.
like the lady in purple. I
Mhm.
feel embarrassed
Oh.
for everyone who was involved in that. It's like, oh my god, they bothered modeling someone different with some detail. That must mean that they're playable or have a huge part in the story. Shut
Yeah,
up.
it's like, no, that person will be a character in the next game.
Yeah.
Where is she now? Where's the chick from Jade's ending? What?
Fruit
that's so
vendor
weird.
wins.
and we're
That is
so
weird
condi-
though.
We're
That
so
is really
conditioned to
strange.
believe that anyone with a slight bit of difference or modeling or detail could potentially be
Playable.
someone. We're so used to like seeing NPCs as just copy pasted Tarkatans or generic like dudes in coolie hats just kind of wandering around.
Here's
It's the
thing. Like,
it's a new world. Not everyone you see is gonna be a big deal.
this is why people still want Tremor or Hornbuckle. In 10 years, it's going to be Lady in Purple and Crystal Chick from Jade's ending.
Ugh.
Or
It
other
really
will
weird,
never
though.
end.
That was probably one of the strangest things I've ever seen in Mortal Kombat. Like, it was so out of nowhere. Like, I still don't know what to think of that ending, but
I keep hoping
probably a
that she'll
shout
show
out
up
to
because
Delica.
her story was I want to retcon MK9.
maybe it's Lady Onaga. I don't know. Maybe it's Onaga in a more.
Jeez.
I don't care who she is as long as she fixes things.
Maybe it's Chameleon. I don't know.
MKX could use a time god. The series could use a time
Just
god. I wouldn't mind seeing that.
Raiden.
The series could use more gods in general. Like,
Well,
The-
we are
the-
getting one.
Gods and
Pantheon is
generals?
so ill fleshed out.
Yeah, there's a whole thing about the MK that it's cosmogony and cosmology doesn't really stand up. I mean, okay, we have elder gods, we have the one being, but what about the rest of the pantheon? There is really not much forethought put into the how this whole celestial
Well, there's
spiritual
sort of
realm works.
there's like a vague framework of a backstory where it's like, well, the
Yeah.
elder gods wanted somebody to watch over the realms for them, so they
Yes,
created
but the elder
these
gods are
lesser
idiots.
gods who are like made out of the elements of whatever that realm is. So
Mm.
like Earth has wind, earth, water, fire, and thunder gods, but then they don't explain what anybody else is the god of. What's Argus's powers? What were Shao Kahn's powers? Who else is gods in Outworld? We've never seen them.
Well, maybe it works on multifaceted or multi-faced gods. That basically there is one primary thunder god that has different aspects, and maybe Raiden is one of them, and maybe with a different personality. Thor is there. You said that maybe they are identical. I
They've talked
couldn't
about
really
that a
say.
little bit too. Like, as far as Earth cultures go, they've all met Raiden, and they all have different names for him. Like Nightwolf calls him Heyoka, the Greeks
Yeah.
called him Zeus, the
But they
Vikings
fucked
called
up
him
that though
Thor.
too
He
because
is that one guy.
But I wouldn't really prefer it, but could work possibly. Could work possibly. I don't think that, for example, Raiden's personality would lend well to what, for example, Thor is in the Norse mythology.
Yeah, I
or
mean, he
other.
doesn't really match up, but at the same time, they sort of vaguely explained it as, well, history, these people's stories are wrong or misinterpreted, or like, they heard about him or they only met him once and then they started making up their own tales, and not all of them true.
He
That
does
could
have
work.
a thunder hammer.
Or there are multiple. Well, that's not a hammer, that's a maul, but yeah.
What else?
Comes to ironic to think about it if you know that most possibly the most accurate depiction of the Mjolnir, the hammer of Thor, is actually almost like in the Marvel comics, except without that massive head. It's basically a small hammer. And Raiden has this huge fucking maul, but I really like it, but that's not something I would really... He has the staff. Oh wait, Kai got
Well,
it.
you say he has the staff. We haven't seen it in the reboot universe at all.
Sub-Zero stole it. Or maybe he gave it to Sub-Zero to help on his spiritual journey
so in the
by
next
being
game he'd be all
possessed.
like, no, I want that back. Sub-Zero was the new Kai. He never...
He used it as
This will
Kindle.
make you immortal, but you can only have it for a week.
Yeah,
Maybe Kai
Sub-Zero-
still has it, like in a safe deposit box. I don't know.
yeah.
Maybe
Here is my
Sub-Zero
hammer.
used it
This
as
will help your possession problem.
maybe
if you
Sub-Zero
feel
used it
possessed-
as kindling when he went to go burn down the temple with a Zippo lighter.
Most expensive kindling ever.
Arsonist Sub-Zero. The last thing I would have probably expected. Also, here is the hammer, Sub-Zero. If you ever feel possessed, please smack yourself in the head with it. Several times. God, what did
Anyway.
they do for
Fucking
Raiden?
Jason's in this game!
Oh, Jason, yes. Jason is a character.
Billy, is that you? I'm gonna get naked and take a shower.
Speaking of it's so funny how different so many people have like said that. It's the most common is that's like the accepted one. Then there's like fucking in the documentary they did just recently, they made it backwards. They went like I was like, what the fuck? But then you get
Well, I mean, if you hear it in the middle, it doesn't matter which one comes first.
Right. And
I
then
almost heard it as chi myself.
yeah, and then ha ha ha. I've seen.
I always said JJJ.
I love that it's an actual sound effect in Friday the 13th comics. Like, it shows up on the screen.
Yeah.
Or
Which is-
page, rather.
See, it's so weird, and I always use because that's the I think I was watching. His name is. It was in both documentaries where the sound designer said it was derived from kill mom, so kill mom, and then it just took the first part of that kill. But then if you hear it in the movies, it sounds more like like
Yeah.
most people say it. It's just so funny how like I said, I've seen ha ha ha. It's just like, what is somebody laughing?
Well, I love that sometimes in the movies it seems like the people Jason's chasing can hear it.
Yeah.
Like it breaks the fourth wall.
Oh shit, it's playing. I need to get the hell out of here.
Horror movies back then had this weird self-awareness that I really liked. I don't see that much anymore.
They also had better soundtracks back then too. Just audio
definitely.
in general.
Everything was better in my day.
I'm a big 80s fan when it comes to like movie soundtracks and whatnot, so
I
Carpenter
really hope
soundtracks
Jason
anymore.
has a teleport in the game, but it works by like the screen just pans and he's suddenly on the other side. Like he got hit by Rain's roundhouse, except like
he flies.
Like that's what it does.
yeah,
I love that.
You should just like pan the camera forward a little bit, removing him from the left side of the screen at the same time as he's revealed on the right side.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what would be funny?
I'm hoping like, well, what's up?
You know what would be funny? If he hasn't got any run animation, he just simply walks with like this weird sped up animation or speed, because he never run in those 80s slasher movies. Nobody ever run. Maybe,
I'm curious. Yeah,
he did
I've
run
been thinking about that.
He did run in part 2, and he jogged in part. Like he legitimately like ran in part 2. You see him running a couple times, and then
they can make that a variation. Like he has one where it's a sack over his head and he can run, but in the others not so much.
And in his
basically he's Thor light.
Yeah, and in the reboot, which the design seems to be most based on, it's not derivative of. It's not like based on one design. It's just it seems to look the most like the reboot. And in the reboot, he full on would sprint. So yeah, I mean,
I wonder how are they going to do the pre-match.
There will be just a lot of like quips probably played at him with him doing something badass in return.
He'll just stare at you, and you'll be all like, "Not much of a talker, huh?"
Yeah, there'll be a lot of. Yeah, I'm looking forward to him.
Cage will have the best line with him.
Yeah,
that's true.
I mean, I look forward to the Mama Boy one and stuff, but I just think that's where a lot of fun will come in, and is the quips that are thrown at him and just his body language in response. I think there are going to be some great intros.
For example, if you pair him up with Ferrator, and Thor and Jason is going into a conversation like these dandy turn of the century English gentleman.
I can just picture it now. They just stare at each other, and all you hear is Farah. Are you going to let him talk to you like that?
They should make a special Quan Chi
please
one.
Excuse me, old chum. I have to do this.
They should make a special Quan Chi one, like an alteration of his Moloch one, but he's carrying Jason's mother's head, and then they just show Jason give like a little cockeyed look, like where he like a dog, where he and then pulls out his machete. Properly. That would be awesome.
Yeah,
I would like to see like Scorpion and Jason are paired, and it shows Scorpion doesn't say anything, then Jason doesn't say anything, then Scorpion doesn't say anything, then Jason doesn't say anything, and Scorpion goes enough.
Yeah,
that would be awesome.
I'm really looking forward to his dialogues, probably of the most of anybody, just because I think there's so much room for creativity. Sometimes when you're handicapped, when it's like in terms of like somebody can't talk, that's when the most creativity comes out. It's kind of like the babalities. They couldn't rely on gore and guts to make it entertaining, so they had to make it really creative and funny. And I think you're gonna see the same type of stuff with Jason. I think you're gonna get a lot of creative, fun, entertaining intros.
Yeah,
that's where if the sleeping bag's not used in like his X-ray or fatalities, that's where you're gonna get a lot of homages. I hope with previous movies.
That's what I was thinking.
The arrow through the head, I think that was when we poked out the eyeball. I think that's going to be one.
Yeah,
I want to see him like summon a mattress, lay them on it, and fold it in half.
Summon Freddy and roast the other in the sleeping bag.
Carry Freddy's head in. That'd be good.
I was kind of hoping that like for the
Quan Chi with Moloch's head, Jason with Freddy's head, and they start this weird puppet.
They just start fighting.
Talk to each other.
Moloch, the dead pony skit.
I would just love to see, like, for his X-ray, he just bashes them in the face with an elbow. Then Freddy pops up behind him, and in slow motion, he turns around, and as Freddy's coming up, he puts the bag over Freddy, and then just turns around and starts beating them with Freddy in the bag. This is what I want.
I feel like you take a really unique approach to his X-ray, because there's still some things we haven't done yet with the X-rays. Like, I think it'd be cool if he does like the cliche raise you up in the air with a machete, and then like when you're up in the air, he pulls out his mother's head, and it just shows the other character's heart stop from fright. I think that would be something really cool and unique.
Yeah,
So totally like using like
organ
the
damage.
Kratos Medusa animation there, pretty much.
Exactly. Or maybe their heart explodes. Something to that effect where it just races too high.
I think his gameplay, his X-rays, and his fatalities, I think they're such big fans of the series. I just like Boon is totally a fan of like all that 80s stuff, and that's right up his alley. I think you're gonna get a lot of creative stuff, even more so than like Freddy with MK9. MK9 they just didn't have as much. MKX has just done everything just so much better, and I love MK9, but MKX is just there's so much more creativity and details and fleshed out of everything, especially with the variations and whatnot, and the higher technology they have to work with and higher budget, of course. I think that's going to translate into, since Jason doesn't really have any specials that just jump out at you just because he doesn't have like, projectile special attack type stuff, they're going to have to be a lot more creative with how he uses his machete or tools and etc. like that, and command grabs. I think we're going to get a lot of really cool homages throughout his gameplay, just a lot of like really creative details throughout. I think it's going to be oozing with personality.
He has to be more accurate than Freddy was by default, because Freddy is a guy who talks a lot in the game where the DLC didn't talk, and they gave him 2 gloves because I think Ed is still mad about Drahman's hand switching when he switches stances, and he just doesn't want to do anybody with asymmetrical hands ever.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, but I'm really looking forward to seeing some Jason gameplay, his X-rays, his fatalities, and I think not even more so, his gameplay and just being able to get my hands on him in a Mortal Kombat game, I'm so excited for. But beyond that, I'm really looking forward to see how they implement his story, because they actually tried to put Freddy in the Mortal Kombat environment, in the universe, and make it make some sort of sense, and give him an actual story presence, in arcade, obviously. So it doesn't really matter.
Like,
but
as far as writing a bio and an arcade ending for him, like, they did a good job with Freddy.
Exactly, and I'm really looking forward.
Kratos in the MK9 timeline. So when Sub-Zero freezes him in right before Jax's arm gets popped, and when they are doing the fights in Khan's Coliseum, I think one of the people who Shang Tsung calls out for a fight, I think it's Reiko versus Kratos.
Pretty sure it's Kenshi. Like, everybody says he says Reiko versus Kenshi. I've never heard it that clearly, but
that's just wishful thinking because nobody wants to see Kratos.
But yeah, no, I hope Jason gets a really cool bio and ending, and I really enjoyed Freddy's ending, the way they did it, and just totally a really good homage, more so than obviously the look of the character. The ending was totally an homage to the original series with Nancy and everything. And I hope we get the same treatment with Jason. I'm really looking forward to that aspect as well. So, any other thoughts on Jason before we get into the tournament talk?
He's cool.
I'm really optimistic for the animations. Even if he does have a run, they do run so well in this game. Like, I don't know if you guys ever paid attention to Raiden's run animation, but it's like the most adorable thing I've ever seen in my life. And I really want them to carry that. Like, if he's running like American Gladiator style, like at the ending of at a 13-3, or that sounded really awkward. At the end of the third movie, it looked really good. Like, if he's just doing like his arms up in the air or some shit like that, or it doesn't have to be all Baywatch style. And I think that's what people picture when they see Raiden running. I'm not Raiden, Jason running, and that's an easy fix, I think.
When I picture Baywatch style running, when I picture Baywatch style running, I picture a massive heaving pair of breasts. So that's not what I picture when Raiden is jogging around. No.
Maybe I'm weird. I picture David Hasselhoff.
Yeah, see, I see Hasselhoff too. I see Hasselhoff standing next to Pamela Anderson, and they're running together.
There you go. Yeah, it's
David Hasselhoff confirmed.
Yeah,
I also hear the song. Some people stand in the darkness.
Yeah,
Free to
like
step
he should.
into the light.
Have you seen how the dude looks? Maybe he should.
Indeed. Well, that's on the internet now.
All right. So, was there anything else to that? Running talk?
I just want to say that I fucking hate guest characters, and Jason's no exception, but I am very happy for those fans who got what they wanted.
Yeah, that's worth mentioning. I mean, you guys all know from the verses how I feel about guest characters, but the truth is, there are better and worse choices. I think Jason's a very benign choice. He's very inoffensive if you don't like guest characters. Like Gears of War would have been bad. Like that would have been like the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
This is not as bad as things could have been.
Exactly. So I'm not. I mean,
See, that's sort of how I feel about Kratos. Like people say he fits into the Mortal Kombat aesthetic, and I've just never really liked that character. So I don't know. Like,
well, considering he's a Greek myth, you shouldn't really supposed to like him because they went for accuracy with the Greek myths there, and well, the Greeks really liked assholes, and Kratos is a massive asshole.
That's true. Like he's also very one-dimensional. He's basically like if you cut out Deception and MK2 from Scorpion's story, and also
That's
made
Kratos.
like Scorpion everything he does his own fault.
He has this vengeance hard on constantly, both Scorpion in the original timeline and Kratos. Yeah.
Jason's in this fucking game.
Shit. Guess. Shit.
I just at this point I'm really hoping the second guy's not Spawn.
That was my next
really
follow-up
do hope
question
so.
was,
A lot
okay,
of
you're given 3 options, and these are just the 3 that Ed's been teasing the most. You got Spawn, you got Predator, you got Sweet Tooth. Which do you choose for the second one if you have to choose one of those? Which is the least offensive or the most fun if you're into them? Razor, who would you pick out of those
Predator,
3?
I suppose.
Predator, Shadow.
Just because I mean, there's already so many Predator references in Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, that's true with the cyborgs and everything.
Yeah, I guess I'd probably have to go with Predator too. I guess.
Yeah, it's
Predator
Sweet
1
Tooth
was the
would be
better
a
movie,
weird
but-
pick because, first of all, he's a guy who drives an ice cream truck that shoots missiles and shit. Like, what do you give him for special moves?
Seriously?
And second, isn't he like a PlayStation exclusive character? I thought there weren't going to be any console exclusives. You know?
I guess.
I believe that he is actually owned by Sony.
Well,
the series.
the thing is, I asked the same thing on the forum, and I think it was Detox that pointed it out that Sean Himmer or Ed Boon was kept teasing Sweet Tooth a bunch, and then he said a fan responded saying, "I thought there was no guest characters," and then Sean Hemmerich said something about, sometimes things change or something like that, something to that effect of things can change or.
Be honest. Do we really give a shit about Sweet Tooth if he doesn't have his van? I like Twisted Metal, and actually, it was one of those games that actually was interesting for the characters' like stories at the beginning and the end. Like, see if they got their wish granted or not, or how terribly wrong it all went. I don't care about a single one of those guys if they're not driving their sweet ass car, and you're not going to see that in gameplay unless they bring it out into Fatality.
Well,
what's the guy whose car is literally his body with wheels stuck to the hands? Axel.
It was
I'd like to see that guy in a fighting game because he brings his car with him no matter what.
Run is always on.
I just feel like Sweet Tooth is just a really ugly, unpleasant character, and I don't want to project myself into Sweet Tooth. At least I get Kratos. He's a buff dude. I can see why you'd want to emulate that, but Sweet Tooth is just, there's nothing cool. I mean, he's a fat clown. I don't care. He's a fat clown with suspenders. I don't need that in my life.
Yeah, he's from the neck down a very sloppy, rednecky looking guy.
Yeah, he's like everything I don't like about Rob Zombie films and a character.
Right.
Thank you.
Yep.
That's
Agreed.
exactly it.
Agreed.
Here's an argument against Sweet Tooth. Any of you remember the game that wasn't really
Are we gonna blow up?
Tattoo Assassins? No.
He's got a bomb.
The red wire, bro.
Yeah.
Somebody has to get up
I'm
now.
just counting down.
Oh, Jesus.
Where the fuck is that coming from?
I feel like it's getting closer.
Have there been any yellow cyber ninjas in your vicinity?
Is there a submarine emerging?
No, really. I just have a
is
hobby
the
of
only
placing
way out.
proximity signs around
Are
my
you
house.
starting to go less than 50 miles per hour?
Okay.
Bomb's about to blow a hole in the world.
No. I just try to surprise myself by placing proximity mines around my house.
Okay. I thought you were gonna say I like to
character.
surprise myself by setting a bunch of alarm clocks at different times around my house.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
You guys
I
in
respect
Eastern
that.
Europe live hardcore, man.
Holy fucking
Look,
shit, don't
you
mind me.
need something to keep you entertained throughout the day.
Yeah. Well, sometimes the wolves come into the 5th floor.
But yes, Shadowloo, which would you choose out of the 3?
No, like I guess Predator, although I'm really curious for Spawn, just because I'd like to see his maneuverability. I guess I don't know. Spawn for the sake of difference, I suppose. Spawn is actually one of the rare superheroes I could see really working with fatalities and everything.
Look, if Spawn is in this game and then immediately after makes a big media comeback, like he gets a movie and people care about his comic books again, maybe I'll eat my words.
Not going to happen.
But it's like, hey, let's have X-Force show up, or
Yeah.
The Mac.
let's have Blade in the game, like fucking
The Max. There you go.
Let's have Sub-Zero in the game.
Max,
from Running
Savage
Man.
Dragon.
Running Man Sub-Zero. Sub-Zero!
No, just
It is
plain
Sub-Zero. Now plain Zero.
Tem?
Come on, Cohagen, give these people air. They might as
I
well
don't
put
know, I
Arnold
think-
Schwarzenegger inside the game.
Some things should maybe just be left in the past, and I think
Yeah.
Spawn was already sort of out of style when he was in Soul Calibur, and that was 10 years ago.
Yep.
Although that
He
is the
serves
worst
his
he's ever
purpose.
looked.
I think the whole character was so tied into the general 90s anti-hero niche that I don't think that it's really a good idea to bring that back, because a lot of the context in the 90s wouldn't work in our post 9/11 world, I think.
Well,
And-
there's just some concepts are outdated no matter what you do with them. Like
Yep.
I'm a fan of Ghost Rider, but people don't really buy his comics anymore because bikers aren't like a cool thing anymore. And that's why the most recent Ghost Rider is actually like a Hispanic guy who drives a hot rod.
Yeah, they had
And
to
even
update
that's
it
a
because
dated concept, I feel
yeah,
like.
cars are in, motorcycles are out right
Which
now.
makes me so fucking angry that Scorpion's basically had his head turned into Johnny Blazes. I miss when his head wasn't actually on fire. I really do.
I don't know. I think, like, actually, his Deadly Alliance ult is my favorite Scorpion costume. I actually like him with the flaming head out better than the
That's
ninja
weird.
mask.
I really
Yeah.
like him when his skull is not on fire. I always I found it really off-putting to have him have the same flaming head as Ghost Rider and several
Thank you.
other fictional characters. I really like the plain, sightless, empty-socketed-eyed skull that he had originally.
Thank you.
I
It made
think-
him.
I think
it, ma-
if
it ma-
he's-
made him creepier and deader
Yep.
and less like a Hollywood creature. It always bothered me. But that moment that you got like in the first MK movie where he just takes off his mask and then you see the fire inside his eyes after they're blanked out. That is what makes that was like the Scorpion toasty moment.
Plus,
for me.
he
I
had the
love that.
he had the orange ooze. Gotta have the orange
Yeah,
ooze.
he bled lava in that movie.
The juice was
Or
loose.
Tang. I think it was
Jesus.
Tang.
I do like Scorpion a lot now because with the ponytail and the beard, even more than Shang Tsung, he looks like Antoine from Deuce Bigelow, Male Gigolo. And I think that's a huge
my.
plus for me.
For you, I
Oh.
guess. Not
Oh,
exactly
oh,
working
oh,
for me.
I like Penguin Scorpion. It's my
I hope
favorite.
to never
look.
hear that.
I must be one of the few people in the fandom who never really wanted to see a human Hanzo Hazashi. Like, I just don't care about Scorpion if he's not, Ninja Ghost Rider.
Fishy,
Yeah,
fishy,
but-
fishy?
You know,
Fishy,
I
fishy,
think
fishy,
we-
fishy.
I think we got it because of the net series, because, well, they
I
did
guess. I mean, if he looked more like Ian Anthony Dale, I might like it more. But I feel like he looks too plain, like he's just kind of Sector in a yellow headband.
Who's that actor again? I'm sorry.
Ian
I-
Anthony Dale?
Yeah.
He's I think he's half Japanese, so he gets these.
I don't know, I just like if
roles.
Scorpion's hair was wilder and his beard was longer and he looked more like a Japanese mountain man sort of guy instead of he looks too like
Well, he
neat and
does.
tidy. Like
I think the
I don't
comic
picture
doesn't really
Scorpion
do it
being
justice.
so well groomed. Like I feel like Hanzo would be just too angry to like pick up the trimmer.
Okay,
Rob
two
Schneider is Scorpion.
Two things.
He also-
After a decade without flesh and hair, I think he's going to be well into grooming his facial hair. The second thing is, I think we can all agree that it's a lot better than what we had in MK1, because the Pacina had Jesus. That's not going to returned.
Hanzo Hisashi, dur.
Who looks like Johnny Cage,
Sorry.
coincidentally.
He's about to find
Yeah.
out it's not that easy.
It really isn't that easy being Scorpion. Like, I could believe that, but
Mm.
I just googled it. Okay, he's a legacy actor. I didn't know I just know him from Tekken, the Tekken film.
Yeah,
and,
yeah, he played It was weird that he played Kazuya and didn't look a thing like him. When you've got
I like
Shang
that
Tsung guy,
movie.
Kerry Tagawa, playing Heihachi with Heihachi's hair and mustache. And
Did
it's
you like
the
the
first
movie?
time Kerry Tagawa's ever looked like the character he's playing.
Yeah,
Because he can't be bothered to have a goatee when he's playing Shang Tsung.
he's a handsome man. Have you seen him in Johnny Tsunami? Beautiful hair. Beautiful.
Johnny Tsunami. Man, I haven't seen that in like 15 years.
Google the hair.
Quick question. Has anyone of here seen the Tekken movie?
think it's
I'm actually
okay.
a fan of the first one. I actually like the Tekken movie because it takes out like the dumb stuff like the bear and the devil. Queen.
Exactly.
The only
Sony
thing
had
that
a
bothers
good
me about that
review.
movie is that Christie's not, a capoeira
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
See, I like
I
the
think it's a
kangaroo
lot
and the
better
bear.
because Tekken
I
has
like
a
the bear
bullshit
too,
kind of
honestly.
storyline, so-
I love-
Yeah, and the panda.
Yeah,
I feel like the
Panda's great.
Tekken's.
I don't know,
Tekken's
if you're gonna make a
batshit
movie out of Tekken, if you're gonna take the plot seriously enough to put it on screen for 2 hours, you kind of have to do stuff like that.
Yeah,
I did-
so people complain because they took out the bullshit, Japanese stylistic bullshit and it made a martial arts movie that was coincidentally about martial arts. Who knew?
See, I feel like Tekken's batshit insanity defines much of its own identity. Like
Some of the characters, yeah.
half of your cast is animals. You've had an old man whose ability to fight was to fall down. I don't think that Tekken's ever taken itself seriously, even to the
MK
level that MK
Yeah, but
has.
that's for
saying a
me,
lot.
that's always been why I'm not a big fan of Tekken. So, that's
feel like
why I
any-
like the movie. And it's almost the same attitude I have towards the Devil May Cry reboot, where everybody
Yep.
hates it because it's not classic Dante and it's been westernized. I like it because it's not so anime.
It's
I like
because
anime,
Japanese
though.
sensibilities, this whole kawaii stuff that Japanese... MK is not going to sell well in Japan because most of the characters are ugly to the Japanese aesthetics. They really need to have something safe, but that's, again, something that's way, way, way too complex to explain right now. And I
Well, I
don't
guess
think
for
I'm the
me-
most qualified person to do that, but MK is not really the kind of thing that Japanese people like. Except that one guy who draws these extremely elaborate
Oh yeah,
costumes,
but Midwood.
I love the guy.
Everybody has seen Midwood art.
He's
You
the
know it
Japanese
the moment you-
Liefeld. And
Well,
what
but he does what Liefeld could not. Make extremely disproportionate people look cool at least. And he does not use pouches.
Can he
puts
draw feet?
hydraulics.
I like
draw
the
it.
weird, sort of sci-fi steampunky armor on his Moloch. Like, I actually think that one character might work that way.
Yeah, he has this whole kind of boiler on his back.
Yeah.
I like
Giant
that.
boiler. I think that's kind of a cool idea.
I just wanted to make
It
sure
even
that you
looks
guys
like a
were.
knight.
I just wanted to make sure you guys were actually talking about the guy that I thought you were talking about. And that you
Yeah,
really
the
are.
guy who draws
Why-
the
no,
ridiculously
no.
detailed
Why
machine
did-
people.
Why did you make me look at that? I hate you all. Oh.
I was just going to jump in though and say I actually am a big anime fan. So Tekken
Me
does
too.
fill a very specific gap for me because I like the idea that an angel can fight a bear. I do want to see that and do that in a fighting game. So Tekken's the only player in the game for that. So I don't really want Tekken to change. You know,
No. The thing I like
Tekken
most
can
about
remain
Tekken
Tekken.
is sort of, it's the one game where you can get like the accurate, like if I want a character who plays like Bruce Lee, like you see all the iconic parts of Jeet Kune Do in his moveset. If you want somebody who plays capoeira, like Eddie Gordo is the iconic capoeira guy. Eddie and Christie do the moves perfectly.
Lei Wulong even. My God, they nailed that character in every incarnation.
Yeah,
Here's the
yeah.
thing. I cannot take Tekken's storyline most of the time seriously because it has this, yes, it has this cool kind of funny Japanese stuff, but when I am looking at this very elaborate, high-strung scene with the Mishimas who are settling their vendettas, and the whole thing is full of pathos. And then I remember that I saw Heihachi in a Speedo serving drinks.
It was great.
Yeah.
I liked it.
See,
This is why-
it's always there's this really epic like opening cinema during the game's like attract mode where it's like Heihachi and Kazuya are fighting and choppers come over the horizon and shoot missiles at the building and it's like and then you get to the endings and it's like he strapped him to a rocket and shot him to the moon.
Yep.
I
just
want
don't
to see
think you're
Dragunov
supposed to,
assemble a
because I
robot
just-
girl.
Liu Kang should
It
do that
doesn't
with
matter.
Raiden.
It doesn't matter because at the end of every game, the way things are resolved is someone gets, tossed into a volcano. Mishimas are attracted to volcanoes, and then they come back for the next round, and they throw the next Mishima into the volcano. It's a ritual.
Yeah,
Well,
I do
Barry,
love
I
it
mean-
if the every game ends with whoever wins the tournament is suddenly like the CEO of the company now. That's how
Like this means
you
anything.
become the
They're
president of
about
the Mishima Zaibatsu is you have to win a kung fu match.
That's fine. You're about to be CEO of the inside of a fucking volcano. Enjoy your position. Didn't you get the memo? Toss.
It
I
is
do
the
kind of like
hottest-
the idea of Heihachi going, you want to prove you're strong enough to be in my family? I'm going to throw off your mountain. I dare you to survive.
Have you seen the anime? Heihachi
I
bites
love the
tomahawk.
anime. He catches the fucking hatchet in his teeth.
Yes. I had a field day with that one.
I've only seen the Spoonie review, but I love it.
Yeah, me too. Awesome. I love Spoonie generally.
I do too. I miss his old material. I wish he would still do movie reviews. I wish he would still do like fighting game reviews, but he's gone a different direction.
Yeah, I got
I
kind
feel
of
like,
rubbed the wrong way with Spoonie.
Spoonie hasn't been good for me since the last time he had his hair not the way he wears it now. That's not a good look for him.
I miss his
like
long
long
hair.
but I don't think he always looks greasy, like he hasn't had a shower.
You should have take a look at me. I have a hair that's basically a sentient being on its own. So, yeah.
All right, so you wanted to talk tournament stuff, right?
Yeah, there's a controversy going on. Toryukin is having a tournament in May. That's in Canada. And the debate is, should the testers for NetherRealm Studios be banned? And just to put my cards on the table, I think absolutely not. Because for one reason, the game's going to be out for weeks by then. And these testers don't crawl into a hole once the game comes out. They play on streams, they play with their communities. All their tech is going to be on screen. It's going to be there. They're going to be competing long before Toryukin. And if they do have hidden tech, I want that out there. I want that on the stream. I want the community to grow. I want us to learn this game as fast as possible. I don't think banning people gives us an unfair advantage. And I think Neo Russell came on, TYM and said, bring it on, We're not afraid of the testers. We will, I think the exact quote was, we are going to take this as a challenge. And I love that attitude. I adore that attitude. Don't handicap yourself,
Yeah, I can see where maybe people are coming from with the idea of banning somebody who's had a lot more practice time because they were working on the game, but mostly because somebody who takes winning the tournament seriously as a career thing, they need that prize money. But if you're playing for the competition, what better challenge than a guy who's been playing it longer than you?
And how hype would that be? And also, they're testing a different version of the game. They didn't spend 8 months testing the final version,
Yeah, and here's another thing. If you're a tester, you have to play every character. You don't necessarily have the time to the way a person who's playing it at home preparing for a tournament will pick a main and they'll learn every little detail about their main. These guys, their memories are probably going to be fuzzy about this or that because they've been spreading it out the whole time they were testing.
And the
How
things
far
they're
is this
looking
tournament?
for, I believe it's May 16th. I could be wrong about that.
It's like jack of all
16th?
trades, master of
Yeah.
none.
Mm-hmm.
That's
No, I
enough
mean-
time to actually get enough practice with a single character of your choice after spending, I don't know what, a couple of days learning the ropes of all of them, making a selection. A full month to get well and truly decent with a character, and yeah, I don't see why not.
I think
Should be
everyone
fine.
wins, really, because, and also the things they're looking for are, they're looking for glitches. They're looking for bugs, They're not going to go to the tournament and be like,
Yeah, it's the
if I use
attitude
this
of the
strategy,
testing
the game
is
won't
way
freeze.
different. Testing is way different from playing a game because you're sort of deliberately doing things wrong to find out what will glitch. And it's sort of I've heard it talked about by people who test that sort of someone who's good at video games is usually a worse tester because they won't try the weird, crazy things that might cause something to glitch. It'll just never occur to them to play the game wrong.
Makes sense.
How can you play a game wrong?
Yeah, I'm in agreement.
Well,
with
by
you
picking
guys.
K now.
I don't think they should be banned.
Well, okay, competitively, yes, in a tournament, so you're probably not going to pick someone who is a bottom of the tier, but
Precisely.
Just in terms of being a tester, it's quite possible to play a game wrong by accident. Just making amateur mistakes that people who are more experienced with a console or a PC game are not wont to do. We might not think of starting the day, and you go into your menu and you just access this mode and I'm gonna go play this for 45 minutes and see what works there. But we don't think to go, say for example, what if I just started hitting back and A on this menu repeatedly, like a 3-year-old would? Doesn't really cross your mind, so I can see where that angle of thought comes from.
Yeah, it's sort of like, a person who's used to playing platformers will jump into a platform and I'm going to run and jump on the platforms and I'm going to, bounce off the Goomba's head or whatever and
I'm going to look for the
do
whistle.
the regular game stuff. You might not necessarily go, I'm going to stand in this corner and spin in a circle for an hour. Or I'm going to press against the wall until I go through it.
So he's a Shiva type of player.
You guys on the Special Forces team on PS1 should have done that one for quite some time.
What do you think, Cyborg? It sounds like you're in agreement. I almost said agreement.
Yeah, I completely agree with you guys. I think give it a month. Like if it was a week after, I could see where they're coming from, but a month is plenty of time. So I'm in complete agreement.
Get good.
Yeah. If you're afraid of the testers, get good, noob.
This is
Pretty much.
If Canada is able to body the testers, it's going to make their scene look amazing. Like that would be so hype for one thing, but their scene would really be on the map, and it already is, to be honest with you. Shoutouts to Castleman, our boy. I don't remember what region he hails from, but he's extremely Canadian.
I think he's in Toronto.
That sounds right.
We don't keep tabs on each other, if anyone's wondering.
You don't have like a psychic connection, no?
No. It doesn't work that way. We do not all share the same bloodstream. Have that same Tim Hortons juice, which connects and binds all of us. You Americans call it the Force. We call it Tim Hortons juice.
I like that.
So,
I think you've got a better name for it.
You must feel the coffee inside you, warming you, getting you ready for your day. Yes.
Cops better than many fucking Chlorians, but I guess I won't open that.
So tournaments.
Nice.
Anyone else?
5 in the morning.
No, I think we all chimed in.
Oh my god. You okay over there, man?
Absolutely. I forgot how to sleep.
Yeah, the fact that you're staying up till 5 in the morning just so you can do this with us is pretty awesome. So we appreciate that.
Huge props.
Gotta respect that.
I appreciate you having me, so that's not absolutely okay.
Cool. Well,
I'm late bird anyways, so.
Well, you picked Shang Tsung for our retrospective, so I think it's about that time. So why don't you start us off with the Shang Tsung?
Are we not covering Chapter 1 of Story Mode? Or is that for next time?
I think maybe we should do it for next time.
Well, tomorrow is going to be another stream, so I think it...
Well, tomorrow's going to be very gameplay. I think there's going to be a lot to cover, definitely tomorrow, but... I mean, if you have thoughts on Chapter 1, you can. We were supposed to talk about that like an hour and a half ago, but it turned into the just like kind of talking about the same thing Razor and I were chiming in about, like our frustrations, and I think Temp wanted to voice his as well. So I think after that we got into a lot of other stuff that we just probably forgot. But yeah, if people want to talk about the Chapter 1, we might as well do that. I mean, I let's just obviously. My thoughts, I think it looks amazing, honestly. I think the story mode, I'm looking really... I think it looks absolutely phenomenal. I love the QuickTime events. I think the models and everything, the animations look absolutely fluid. I'm just really excited to see where the story mode takes us, how the story plays out, and Chapter 1 looks fun. And like I said, I look forward to the whole thing, but... in terms of presentation, they've never been better. So, and like talking about the QuickTime events, I think they're really cool. And I agree with you, Shadaloo, that I think I'll want to play through them multiple times just to see the difference, the different animations play out, and how we might see different cool specials used in different ways based on, whether you pass or fail. And one other thing I wanted to comment on is I love the fact that you can go back and watch all the movies from story mode. You don't have to play through it all over again just to do that or go on YouTube.
Yeah.
I'm sort of curious when you go back and watch them how the QuickTime events will work.
Yeah.
Maybe it has a recording of your playthrough. And
maybe.
basically it has these values assigned whether you picked or not, didn't pick the given QuickTime event. The game records your values and you have a list of how did you play through the story mode.
I was thinking that, or it may just default to just you win the animation and press the right input.
That's what I was thinking. Shadowloo, what were your thoughts on it?
Pretty much the exact same as yours. I'm definitely going to be going through story mode a couple of times, see all those QuickTime variations, and Lord knows, of course, if I really enjoy and love the story mode, which I'm pretty sure I am going at this point. But actually, I just want to sit here and give a special shout out to Sub-Zero's NetherRealm Revenant outfit.
Yep.
Oh yeah, it looked beautiful.
It is fucking amazing, and specifically the fact that it really looks like, and a lot of people have mentioned this, he might have some kind of like cyber spine thing going on, and I think
it looks like armor to me. Like
some people say it might be, some people say it might not be. To me, if he just shows up like that and there's no explanation as to why he's not cybernetic anymore, I can just look at that and I can go, okay, Quan Chi did some body work on him. Maybe he's more efficient. Don't care. That's good enough for me. You know, I just, one way or another, like whether or not the spine thing has any relevance whatsoever, I'm in love with the entire outfit. It's beautiful.
It looks
I don't know.
cool.
I've just always felt like it's sort of a you don't need to say it out loud. And I know it sort of bothers people. Like, why isn't he a robot anymore? I just think when Quan Chi brings a guy back to life, he can give him a new body. It's as simple as that.
Precisely. It's totally fair. So for anyone who maybe
Quan Chi
freaking out about
hijacked
that,
the flesh bits. So,
I mean, Noob Saibot is obviously not Bi-Han's body because that was burnt to a skeleton.
Yeah.
And then the head and spine were taken from the Netherrealm to Earthrealm and dropped in dust.
But just some people are really obsessive about like minutiae and details like that. So, I think that in that case, it's kind of understandable, given the fact that you saw his soul cybernized for some fucking reason.
Yeah, again, ambiguity.
Yeah.
Well,
We cannot deal with that.
it's a little confusing, but in the MK9 scene where Raiden sees all the zombies, those aren't bodies; those are souls. They're ghosts.
Yep.
They look like the way they looked when they died. And I mean, they look like zombie bodies, and that's why it's confusing. Like, you think of a ghost, you think of like a see-through apparition. But those are their souls.
Yeah, and mythology spills it out when you have Sub-Zero fighting Scorpion the second time. He specifically says that somehow you retain your physical form, that means you are vulnerable to death. So, basically, Raiden is in the flesh,
when
the
you're in
others are
hell,
soul.
a ghost looks solid and you can fight it. That's sort of the rules of the Netherrealm in this series.
It would not have been
hell
as
physics.
intimidating, if it was just like a floating green cloud. Like Ermac's Balloon Boy.
Yeah, that would be
don't mention Balloon
easier
Boys,
to
please.
understand, but then
Five
Raiden
Nights at
couldn't
Freddy's?
fight them. And
Yes.
the whole point of that scene is you fight those guys.
Fucking wanna rip him to shreds. Okay.
But yeah, I like the costume a lot too, I wasn't expecting it. I was really taken by surprise when I saw that costume. And I was, even more than that, I was taken by surprise that Scorpion looks like he's keeping his MK9 outfit. And I hope that's a trend. I hope everyone gets to keep their outfit. I know it's for story purposes, but go on.
Yeah. No, that's not. That's what I was about to say. Story purposes. He's probably going to switch up once he switches allegiance again. Until then, he has absolutely no
still
reason to.
fight against him in that outfit, so that outfit's probably in the game. So
Right.
what
Better be.
what Kemp
Oh,
is saying,
man,
I
if
think,
it's
and I
not.
agree, is that everybody who was in MK9, their outfits should come back.
Right.
Like I would love to play as MK9 Johnny Skin, or MK9
Or at
Raiden
least
Skin.
those people who are playing a part in the initial conflict when Shinnok invades. So, for example, if we do not get to fight against Cabal in the initial chapters, then okay, maybe he doesn't need to have his Revenant costume if he turns up later. I wouldn't really like that, but maybe.
Yeah, that makes sense. And one reason why I like it so much with Scorpion is because I was afraid it was going to be like MK9's intro, where people were going to have their modern costume, even though they were supposed to have a different costume. Scorpion should look the same, And I was afraid he was just going to have like an alternate costume that's only exclusive to this game. I like that it's consistent.
They're definitely stepping up their game. That's
definitely.
I'm watching the fight between Johnny and Scorpion right now, and yeah, there it is.
Yeah, they really wanted to showcase the first chapter, so it's not a coincidence that you get to fight Scorpion and Sub-Zero right after him. So, yeah, they are going out with everything, guns blazing and all.
Yeah.
I think we will see a lot of good stuff in this story mode, but not as passive as the previous one.
I think with MK9, they wowed a lot of people just in terms of the fact that you've never really seen a story mode play out like that in a fighting game, like a 2-hour cinematics in a fighting game like that, and just the way it was laid out. Whether you were a fan of the story direction they took or not, from a casual perspective, so many people loved Mortal Kombat 9's story and how they did it, and just were blown away by it. From a lot of the videos and reactions I saw from fans of Mortal Kombat that aren't necessarily hardcore fans. So I think they're taking that and they're trying to one-up themselves by, leaps and bounds with MKX in every single way, obviously. And story mode is clearly a part of that.
Well, if they are financially justified, that they might just do that. And if you take a look at the demonstration of how they actually filmed it with the motion capture stuff, I think, they got some competent people to do the cinematography.
Yeah.
And to arrange the movements. So it's not as passive, for example, like in MK9, when you basically had transitions stage to stage to stage, and the people around talking, standing around, motioning with their arms, but nothing as elaborate, but like being in a chopper, for example.
Yeah.
So that actually looks impressive.
Yep, indeed.
Yeah, and I think as far as like the costumes, like Scorpion in his MK9 outfit, I think that's just sort of them. They have a history of reusing assets, and I think they're finally using it to their advantage, and that's why they're able to have NPCs in this game, whereas they didn't in 9 and Injustice. Like those characters hadn't been built yet, but now it's easy to throw somebody in there as a Revenant because you just take their MK9 model, brush it up a little, add some yellow veins.
Yeah. And actually, if you take a look at the Sindel that was shown previously, it's almost the same model. So there's a slight remodeling there, but it didn't look as up to par as the playable characters. I don't know if you can see that, or is it just me? But I think a lot of these people who are going to be in the background are going to be low def models. So, for example, possibly the Baraka ones who are going to be in the background are going to be lower polygon, lower definition, lower resolution models.
Yeah. You gotta cut
because that is the sensible thing to do if they are.
Yeah, there was talk about that too when like that picture of Frost leaked, and a lot of people were like, no, that looks like a fake. Like her model looks like too low res, and her costume is just
she's going to be in the background
primary. And I'm like, no, look, she's a background character. That's why she looks like that.
Yeah. Every game does that, yeah. You don't make the NPCs look as high quality as the playable, obviously. So
unless you want to shove them right into the face of the camera, but yeah.
All right, well let's do this retrospective. Why don't you start us off, Chrome?
Shang Tsung. Okay, let me prepare my dissertation. Well, not really. Well, what to say about Shang Tsung that hasn't been said before? I really like the guy because, for one, he is the original bad guy in MK, and I think if you take a look at Shang Tsung, I think he's one of the more valuable villains if you take a look at any kind of story, because he actually succeeds, and he's not the kind of Cobra Commander type of character who gets constantly foiled, or Dr. Cloud, I get you next time, gadget. No, okay. Shang Tsung fails regularly because that is the outcome of the tournaments, but actually it's not because he or the others are incompetent, at least in the original timeline. It's because the heroes persevere and go through and basically win against all odds. I really like how Shang was in the original trilogy, it was done like this sinister, this brainiac kind of guy who was this genius behind the organization of the stuff, because he's the one tasked to win the first Mortal Kombat tournament. Okay, he fails. He immediately comes up with the next plan. Okay, let's do one in Outworld. Okay, that fails because good guys are good guys and they are predestined to win. And then he pulls out the contingency plan with Sindel, which they agreed upon and prepared so with Khan in the past. And only after MK3, there comes MK4. Okay, Shang Tsung is given a rest because we need a breath of fresh air. And then they bring him out for Deadly Alliance. And I really like that, again, Shang with Quan was well, it was a dual boss, but again, he was the boss of MK. And actually, I really got my hopes restored when I saw Deadly Alliance, because after 4 I was kind of, okay, Mortal Kombat, whatever. I saw MK Deadly Alliance, okay, intro sequence, awesome, Liu Kang is dead, no more gobbling sounds. Then after that, I could not stand that thing.
I like it.
Actually, that's fair. I like the idea of Liu Kang making Bruce Lee noises, but after MK2, they're not Bruce Lee noises anymore. They're just really obnoxious.
Yeah, it's like a chihuahua passing kidney stones, so...
I still like it. I still think it's a good thing, but that's me.
I like it.
Again, I like the idea. I just think they should re-record them to sound more like Bruce.
I think they should bring a turkey into the recording booth. That is my opinion. But that's me.
Well, here's the thing. Like, I'm a fan of Liu Kang. I want him to be cool, not a joke. So
yeah,
it's too much of a part of him now.
MK9 was a pretty good Liu Kang. I really began to like him after that one.
He was alright, but I feel like he's a completely different character. And that's...
Yeah. Well, original MK Liu Kang wasn't really a character. He was this blank state of honorable...
I think there's a lot of sort of subtle or unspoken character traits of Liu that came out better in like the adaptations, like the whole the Highlander thing, where it's like, now that I've won the tournament, I'm going to live forever and not age and watch everybody around me die, and I'm lonely, and that sort of ties into his romance with Kitana, who ages super slow, and just a lot of the dynamics and the things with Liu, like the whole I'm a pacifist, I don't do a fatality in the first tournament, that's sort of, they never explored it the way they could, and those would have made Liu Kang...
Yeah, and he does a fatality in MK2 because Shang sent Baraka to...
now he's mad, and he's like going back on his beliefs because he, wants revenge. But at the same time, it's like, nobody actually dies in the story, so it seems more like Liu sort of... It was something he was thinking about doing, and then he changed. No, I'm not going to betray my beliefs. I'm gonna hold fast. Like, he has that crisis of conscience, and it's resolved at the end. But we never actually saw that.
Well, if he is a direct homage or identical to Bruce Lee, that I wouldn't even think that he had to struggle with this, because he has very strong beliefs, so I don't think he even faltered by thinking about killing the opponent. And I think that's why he's a good foil to Shang.
Liu's not exactly Bruce Lee. He's just like, he looks and fights like Bruce, but he does have his own personality. And it's like, Bruce Lee sort of played very one-dimensional characters in his movies. Like, he was just the best kung fu guy in everything.
Yeah. And I think the best thing that could happen to him, ironically, was that he died in MK Deadly Alliance, because that established two things: that no one was safe, and so we could not expect the regular good guys wins scenario again, and it established basically Shang as a legitimate bad guy.
Helped Kung Lao as well.
Because if you take a look at how the conquest mode of Deadly Alliance, play through Shang Tsung and then Quan Chi, you will notice that Quan goes to offer up the alliance, and it is Shang who suggests that we should probably take out the two things that hinder us, who might possibly oppose us.
Yeah, because Shang's thing has always been these
The
grudges
scheme.
and these like rivalries, and he's always wanted to overthrow Khan, and he's always wanted to get back at Liu for beating him, and that's sort of like Shang Tsung when he fell into the background in MK3, that you sort of lost that, because like MK1 is Shang versus Liu, and MK2 Shang is the one who leads the attack on the Shaolin.
Yeah.
But after that rivalry sort of goes away because Liu's focused on Khan. So like Deadly Alliance bringing him back like sort of made Shang matter again.
Yeah, if you think about it, that Shang could probably be the Starscream to Shao Kahn's Megatron, but only in the, I don't know how many of you read the IDV's Transformers comics, but when
More Than Meets the Eye is freaking amazing. It's the best
awesome,
Transformers
I probably
ever
the
been.
best written comic almost I have ever seen. And basically, Shang is good at managing things. So he is the genius guy who comes up with the plans. Shao Kahn is the muscle and the potential behind and above Shang, basically. So I don't think that Shang would work as this dark overlord type of character. He is not this Sauron type of insurmountable evil. He is the guy who is going to move every bit of scheme and every bit of straws that he can get his hands on and oppose you in any way you can possibly imagine. And probably then he is going to stab everyone else in the back. He is
yeah, that's like the thing
schemer.
about a schemer like Shang is, or Starscream, is the whole driving thing that makes them what they are is insecurity. Like there's people that they just can't beat, and that's why they have to sneak around and like find a way to stab them in the back instead of in the front.
Well, I don't think it's much of an insecurity, but Shang has probably two motivations. One is to stay alive because he also has this curse that he needs a constant supply of souls to remain alive. And then the other thing is that because he is a schemer and he fucked 1 million people over, starting from Kenshi to almost all of Earthrealm, basically, because he is an Earthrealmer, and he sold out to Khan. He probably, because of paranoia and because judging by his own methods, he expects betrayal from everywhere.
Yeah, I think there's an inferiority complex thing. Like he, has always wanted to overthrow Khan, but he isn't necessarily brave enough to do it because he knows Khan can like wipe him out.
Yeah.
And the same thing with like always wanting revenge on Liu. It's because he could never get over the fact that Liu beat him at the tournament. And it's just, Liu is in theory a stronger and better fighter, and that's why, he needed Quan Chi's help to kill him.
Yeah, and there are the implications of how Quan Chi could have bet him if he had Liu Kang's soul and possibly knowledge inside him, and the Soulnado at his disposal in the Deception intro. That always kind of bugged me, but...
Well, I think Quan Chi won that fight because he has the amulet.
Yeah.
I think
Which
that's
somehow makes him
his
stronger.
counter to Liu's soul in the Soulnado is, Quan Chi is wearing Shinnok's amulet and he's tapped into it, and he doesn't have all of the powers of an Elder God, like... That was sort of a running theme in Deadly Alliance's story, is that like Quan Chi is learning how to use the amulet gradually. But that's always sort of, I just figured that's why he won that fight. Because normally I don't think he would if, all the buffs Quan Chi or Shang had at his disposal in that fight.
And there's the other thing that the NRS design team designed Quan Chi to be the better of Shang.
Yeah, that's
kind of irks me, but
they always talk about Quan Chi is as old as the NetherRealm is, and he's the greatest sorcerer. But again, if you have Liu Kang's soul, you should be the best fighter.
Maybe. And there's also the other thing that Quan Chi is more powerful than Shang Tsung, but maybe Shang is more evil in a sense because he has done a lot more evil deeds to a lot more other characters.
Well, I mean that's. The tricky thing is that here's the reason Shang Tsung is probably my favorite villain, and you've touched on it a little bit already, is Shang has a backstory and a motivation, and everybody else kind of doesn't. Shang has this whole thing where he does what he does because he's afraid of aging and dying, and he he has these rivalries because he feels insecure and inferior to guys like Shao Kahn, and he's like, I want that power. I want to be
He
the
has
guy.
a motivation that you can understand.
I don't want to be anybody's slave. And it's like, but you
I
look
want
at Shao
everyone else
Kahn and
to
it's
be
like,
my slave.
yeah, it's like you look at Khan and it's like, we know he used to be like the Raiden of Outworld. We don't know why he went bad and took the throne. We don't know why Shinnok wants to conquer Earthrealm. We don't know what made these characters turn evil at all. And they never explore it. Like MK9 never once even talks about where Khan comes from and why he's a bad guy. He's just Saturday morning cartoon evil. More so than in previous games, because he doesn't even love Sindel and Kitana anymore.
Yeah, well, hopefully MKX is going to touch upon Shinnok, but Khan is like a Genghis Khan without a motive. He is basically megalomania given flesh.
But it's just sort of, it's like, why? How did he get to be that way? And they never.
It's not as complex or interesting. Yes. At least if you look at Shang, you can understand his motives. He doesn't want to die. I think everyone can sympathize.
He's very human. I relate a lot to Shang's whole "I'm afraid of aging" thing, because like, I turned 30 this past year, and you start to feel it. You don't want, you're like, your 20s are over. You've got aches and pains, and you're starting to lose your hair and stuff like that. It really hits you. And
Razor,
thanks for reminding me.
Stay the hell away from my soul.
Yep.
And then like Quan Chi has no explanation. Well, we know he's a demon, so presumably he's just, because of the realm he comes from and what species he is, he's just a born sociopath, and he's evil for the sake of evil. Again, it's a shallow, one-dimensional character, and that's what separates Shang from all the other bad guys.
Yeah, there's another thing that two things, because if you look at Quan Chi, okay, he's inherently evil because he's a demon, and if you take a look at Ashra's ending in Deception when he fights Noob Saibot, that it talks about how Noob Saibot almost counts as a demon because he had to earn his place, because he was consciously evil as a Bihan.
Yeah, like he turned himself into Noob Saibot when he died and went to hell, the same way that Draman turned himself into a demon.
Yeah, and there's the same thing with Shang, that he took effort to become the thing that he is.
Yeah, like he's just that bad a person that, like, he lost his conscience, sure, and he doesn't love his brother anymore and stuff like that, but it's his own fault.
Yeah,
and like, also, he welcomes it, and he's happy that way.
And also, there is another thing that if you take a look at the media and all of the games, not counting MK9, Shang Tsung is so fun to watch. Kei Takaga did an excellent job. Bruce Locke is absolutely amazing, even with that accent of his. And okay, I will have to give it, because Adoni Maropis is a good C-list actor and reoccurred in a lot of other games. Both in Conquest, for example, Shang and Quan probably stole the show for me.
Yeah, I think those are my favorite
at least looks
versions probably of Shang and Quan. Just, I mean, Conquest is such like a schlocky, B tier show, but
Hercules and Xena in Mortal Kombat.
But it did a lot of things right. For, like I said, I haven't liked Quan Chi since he stopped wearing clothes. A lot of that is because I like Adonai Moropis's performance so much. And like when I think of Quan Chi, I think of Conquest Quan Chi.
Yeah, with the Shatner talking. You do not fail me again, Mika. Ooh, Jesus Christ. It was so fun to watch, but it's so bad and so good at the same time. Also, Shang, the only problem I had with Bruce Locke's portrayal in The Conquest was that he had to work on his accent. And another thing, neither of them were very good martial artists. They were good athletes and acrobats. And that's inside the whole show. Nobody actually fights properly. They are jumping around like poison mice. But
yeah, I think they were the choreography, when you're on like a cable in the middle of the night, you don't necessarily have, you just want to keep it exciting though, so
late 90s,
you work
early
with what you've got.
2000s. Yes, it has to look flashy too, so given that. And also, there was another thing that the Shang Tsung in Conquest was actually was highly elaborated upon. So he's got his backstory, how he was a former champion of EarthRealm who failed and actually got seduced by Shao Kahn in the power sense, not in the other sense. I actually like that very much. I think that was.
I always liked the idea of Conquest's Master Cho, and I wish Bo Rai Cho was the same character, because I think it would add a lot if like Shang was trained by Bo Rai Cho, and like.
Well, he could have been if
the way Conquest had him be in the tournaments and like the way he turned against EarthRealm. I think that would be a great like dimension to add to the actual canon story.
And that would actually help Liu Kang. For example, if in MKX we get both Liu and Shang, and for example, it turns out that Shang was a former failed champion of EarthRealm. Now I'm talking the Shatner voice too. There would be this kind of dichotomy and this mirror image of each other, because Liu Kang got basically busted by Raiden. He was the Thanksgiving turkey at the end of MK9, and then if it would turn out that Shang was also a failed champion, then again Liu Kang, Shang Tsung, New Deadly Alliance, who would stand up to get that? But that's, again, speculation, fanfic stuff.
Yeah, that would be a twist I would not be unhappy to see. I actually think that could work.
Yeah, I would really like that. I actually, I think Stan Lee said that the best villains are not black but gray.
Yeah, a good villain isn't somebody who goes around saying, ha ha ha, I'm evil. It's somebody who like you relate to, like Magneto, where you can see where they're coming from and why they are the way that they are.
If they are written properly, yes.
A little bit.
Okay. Well, and Shang's got style. MK, the EA, Primer Luke, probably my favorite. Not much else to add.
Fatality? Favorite one?
Favorite fatality? MKDA Soul Stomp Slam.
What about all the popcorn?
Delicious
I
ketchup.
like bloody popcorn.
That's fair.
Because it's actually two fatalities put together. Slamming the poor chump's brains across the floor and then stomping on it and stealing his stuff. Actually, did you notice that Shang has a tendency to jump on people and stomp on their heads? Shaolin Monk's intro, his throw in Deadly Alliance, the fatality.
Yeah.
I don't know why he can't steal a soul in every fatality. Like when he throws you on the spikes in MK3, why not just take your soul after that? I don't get that.
Yeah, like that's the whole thing is anytime Shang is even near a dead body, he should just that's mine now.
Yeah, he does it.
Like, that's the whole reason he was the Grandmaster of the tournament, was so he could sit in the chair, watch people kill each other, and then take the souls.
Instead of, are you going to eat that? He's just going to be like, you going to take that soul?
Are you going to finish that?
If you want the soul for yourself, it's okay. You ordered it, but I'm just saying, I don't want that soul to go to waste, man.
You know what's funny? There was a leaked sound clip from MK9 that's like somewhere on the disc, but it isn't actually used in the game, where you can hear Shang's voice going, "Tastes like chicken."
What?
I remember that.
That would have been legit. I would have liked to have seen that.
I have to look that one up.
10-1, they were going to do something much more terrible with the clown eating you, but then they just decided to reuse the Joker animation from MK.
They should have added another fatality. Shang always had one extra fatality in MK2.
Yeah.
The Kintaro Morph classic.
Yeah. All right.
It kind of bugs me he doesn't have like a proper soul steal. Like I guess he does it in his win pose, and they thought that would be good enough. But the thing I miss most is the withered green body effect.
Yeah.
Because that was always what set his fatalities apart from everybody else's, and that's why my favorite Shang finisher is the MK2 Soul Steal.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that. You guys pretty much covered Shang as better than I could, and you covered like every part, so I was just going to throw in my favorite Shang look would be Deadly... I liked his Deadly Alliance alternate, which was based off his obvious
comic book.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's also... My friend called it the McDonald's serving dude.
And the MK vs DC played that up as well. So either one of those, I'd say that attire itself is my favorite. So that would be my favorite, and my favorite Shang fatality will be MK2 Soul Steel as well. Just because it looks good. I want to see a new version of that with the withered body and all that, like you were talking about.
Yeah. Like in more recent games, like they haven't been able to like model it like that, so they just would have your skin get pale. And I guess that's all right, but it feels like not the same. Like it's the same. It bothers me the same way all those games where Johnny didn't make shadows; he just glowed green.
Right.
Now he has after images again on his kick. So it's like
wonderful.
I would like to now see Shang make people wither.
Given the Devora's fatality with the head flesh chewed off, I think that could easily work.
Very. All right. I guess I'll just jump in briefly. I've always Shang's always been the villain that I've rooted for. He's probably my favorite major bad guy, and I don't have to go into lengths to discuss at how pissed off I am that MK9 and hell even the past number of games going up to Deadly Alliance have treated him the way that they have.
Yeah.
His fate is one of the major reasons why I dislike Quan Chi as a character. He just seems to be there to fuck with Shang Tsung, who always has been one of my favorite guys.
I can't forgive that. Sorry to interject. I can't forgive that if it turns out that Quan Chi and Shinnok and the whole NetherRealm group has foreknowledge of what Raiden did. Then perhaps I can understand that Quan Chi deliberately came up with the invasion plan, hijack, and everything else.
Not just that. I mean, just, having him be the superior fighter between him and Shang Tsung, and then beating him, and then everything that MK9 did to him, it makes me so angry.
I just chalk it up to it being a different universe, because the thing is, Shang planning Sindel's resurrection ahead of time was part of the plot of Mythologies.
I'm not even talking
about... Now that
we
know that Mythologies doesn't really happen.
I don't say...
Or not to the full extent, for example.
Yeah, not the same way, at least.
Some version of it happens. We don't know what. But I'm not even talking about plot. I'm just talking about the perpetual tendency for Quan Chi, no matter what the game, to shit all over everything that Shang does, and then some. Shang Tsung, like you guys said, is a schemer. His best tendency is staying alive. That's his skill set. And it's funny because I feel like he's a character where a lot of the old media, like the Malibu comics, the Jeff Rovin novel, the movie itself, they did better jobs of interpreting and displaying Shang Tsung than the games have done in a very, very long time. I just remember reading the Jeff Rovin novel and it was a funny thing because in that novel, they depicted Shang Tsung as kind of an extended relative of Kung Lao's lineage, his family, the original Kung Lao, who just decided, you know what, I've had it with humanity and I want to go off and I want to learn more about other places and people, and he disappears and he resurfaces years later and he's Shang Tsung. He's changed his name and everything. Now, granted, obviously, we know that's not how things happen, but the way that Jeff Rovin wrote him, I could really believe that this is what being inside of Shang Tsung's head was like, because he looked down on people and he pitied them because he just saw there was so much more out there. He believed himself to be better than they were intrinsically, and he just scoffed at their perceptions of humanity's perceptions of what magic really does, mummy dust instead of bone powder. How silly humans are, and just. That novel is probably responsible for my loving Shang Tsung, or one of the big reasons I do to this day. And I just want him to be portrayed and written interestingly once again, because it's a screwed up thing where he's just a side character or a toady that exists to kiss Shao Kahn's boots. He should have more than that. He deserves more than that. Now that's
I always said that he wasn't really in MK9 because at first you get this Asian Hugh Hefner with the god-awful accent, and then you have this. Jesus Christ, what were they thinking when they came up with his younger alternative? Because if you take a look at his versus
Antoine.
DC, his versus DC costume. At least you can say that it's a slight alteration of his MK2 color scheme and costume. But it looks ugly. The MK9 younger self looks ugly.
I think they went way overboard with the snake thing.
Yeah.
And like Shang has like
over-designed
worn
this-
snakes on his outfit before, and his animality is a snake. There's a whole theme there, and I don't have a problem with it. It's just too much. It's the same way Scorpion's primary had way
Yeah,
too much
I was
Scorpion
about to
shit
say
on it.
that.
Yep.
Briefly going along, I'm going to say that for some reason, this isn't a very popular one, but my favorite Shang look is his MK2 outfit. I don't know what it is. It's the simplicity of it. It's the hat. The fact that he rocks that little beanie so
Yeah,
well.
that hat looks cool.
I like it on him. I want that outfit to really come back someday. And my favorite
it's-
fatality is... sorry?
Well, I like in Deadly Alliance where like if two people are both playing
Right.
as Shang's alt, one of them is in the MK2 colors.
Yeah.
It's a nice reference, but it's not quite there. I want the whole shebang. But that's it. Favorite fatality is, again, not the most popular one, but I liked the inner ear possession fatality thing that he did in MK2 where he just blew up from the inside out. Something that I wanted Smoke to have for years and years, but I've become used to seeing it as a trademark of sorts of Shang's. Even if, physically speaking, it does not make all that much sense. Now,
Basically, it's his MK2 possession fatality redone.
pretty much.
And
Now I'm going to go all Fox Mulder paranoid conspiracy theory and cross my fingers. Shinnok has a variation called Imposter in MKX. It's the only variation we know of. They've also mentioned that some of Shinnok's moves have Shang Tsung ground skull properties. Stuff like
Quan
that.
Chi stole the fire skulls.
If fucking Shang Tsung is in league with Shinnok to fuck with Quan Chi and get that amulet
Yes.
back, oh god, they will make me so happy.
Say more of this,
so
you
happy.
wonderful, wonderful man.
I hope, a part of me hopes that I'm wrong because I don't want to like guess it beforehand early on. But if I'm right, I will dance and sing from the hills. What if Shinnok's imposter variation is really Shang Tsung and they work out a deal beforehand? You get stuck in the amulet and then I'll free you later, or something like that. And
Shinnok by proxy.
you know, I mean, he's Shinnok, so he probably wouldn't set him free anyway. But
Or
shit, what a
the worst alternative would be that Shang Tsung has turned into an energy drink, and when Sindel is defeated, they bring the Tsung out of her and pass it on to Shinnok.
You know? Alright, but that's it. This is my MK paranoid conspiracy theory moment, and that's all I wanted to get out.
It's an interesting theory. I would like to see Shang in league with Shinnok to fuck over Quan Chi in some respect. Or I do kind of like more the idea of Shang and Liu Kang on the same side because they're both sort of jilted former champions.
Yeah.
And like just the idea of the two of them allying against Raiden, or even like in their MK9 endings where Liu goes bad and Shang is the one who has to fight him, and like Shang is the good guy in that.
The Boraicho ending.
Yeah, that would be interesting to see. But as far as like, I think Shinnok's imposter variation is called that because that's the one where he copies moves.
Yeah, the MK9
I
4-1.
think that, yeah, I think so too. But I had this conversation with someone else on the boards, and they said the same thing and vehemently disagree. But some name styles do point to like status of character within plot, like Grandmaster for Sub-Zero or like Morning for Katana. I think that it can be taken as a potential hint, and it's tough to say either way right now. I'm just crossing my fingers as well.
Let me throw this out there, because I could see it going either way. I definitely lean towards it's just called that because he's stealing other people's moves. But with that being the idea, why is he stealing Shang's moves if Shang isn't playable?
We don't know
Because
if those
he
are
can.
skulls. They've just been described as working
Okay.
like the skull
Okay.
eruption. Like
So
he makes fireballs come out of the ground. That's all
Right.
we know.
Wait. There was a picture that leaked about a dismembered Sub-Zero. It's sort of like these metallic sprues or blades that were coming out of the ground. I think maybe that's what Shinnok is all about.
Because my idea was going to be, what if Shinnok can use a bunch of moves like in the old style of what Shang Tsung could do, but obviously Shinnok did the same type of thing in MK4.
Yeah.
What if he can use the moves of players that aren't necessarily in the game? That'd be kind of an interesting mechanic.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Potentially.
Especially people from the NetherRealm, like Cabal and stuff, if they don't make... Like, he's throwing out smoke bombs and doing stuff like that. That'd be kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Just an idea, but I don't know.
I just want to see him slap people around with those skeleton hands, man. I'm looking forward to Shinnok having his own original moveset for the first time in
I think he's gonna...
game.
Yeah, he's gonna be one of the coolest fighters
Basically,
for sure.
I basically want them to do with...
gives you the middle finger with the skeleton hand.
There you go. I basically want them to do for Shinnok what they did for Smoke last time. That's what I want to see.
For sure. He's going to get that treatment. I think he's going to be, like I said, he's going to be one of the stars of this game coming out of it for sure.
I literally want them to do what they did with Smoke by making him a good mid-range offensive character. That's what worries me about the hands. I don't want to zone with Shinnok.
Do you remember what they said about the game mechanics when I think it was 2 or 3 months after the game was announced that they were trying to tone down the zoning compared to MK9 so that there would probably not be as much of a projectile type characters.
Did they say that?
Yes, I distinctly remember it.
That's good. Like, I mean, well,
maybe they went back on it because I think maybe they are saving it for one character that specializes in zoning with.
Well, there's definitely
compared
good zoning
to the
characters
others
now. But Injustice was so zoning heavy, I could see them saying something like that. And like Injustice was crazy with the zoning. That's why a lot of people hate the wagers.
Probable. That is highly probable, and I think that there aren't many characters that are that much projectile heavy aside Liu Kang and Shang Tsung. Shang Tsung in MK9 basically could spam flame skulls anywhere. He wasn't really that good, but he was a solid mid-tier character with very good zoning abilities.
We slowly got better as the game evolved. Like near the end of the game's run, he was probably top 12.
Yeah.
Well, but you're right, for a long time. Yeah.
Patches helped him, I remember that. Maybe if Shang isn't playable but somehow involved in the story, maybe that would be really good. I think.
I think he will be.
Unless they fuck his wardrobe off, I cannot. The MK3 one is absolutely. What were they thinking?
It was a professional wrestler. That's what it was.
It kind of looked like the Asian Undertaker with mustard pants.
I like Woodstock
I
Shang
saw a lot
Tsung.
of comparisons back then to like Kiss or Alice Cooper.
Yeah.
Alice Cooper's probably the closest thing.
I
Not
think
Woodstock, though.
Yeah, I think if
I don't know what the bright yellow pants are the part that baffles me the most. Who thought that was a good idea?
There is one color that constantly Shang constantly has one color. It's gold or yellow because
but like it's usually like trim, just his entire legs to be bright yellow. I don't know.
What the funny thing is, maybe I'm
and then like the
here,
thong thing over top.
I'm thinking that like
he stole Sonya's MK1 thong.
When they did the motion capture, like the screen filming for MK3, I'm pretty sure I remember seeing images of like the pants being blue. I think his P2 color was like the default one, or am I misremembering?
That's because of the green screen capturing. Because if you remember, all of the female ninjas original were red. What is that? Well, red clothes, because that you could.
That I remember, yeah. But
you can manipulate it.
Yeah, pants probably were red. Yeah, never mind. I'm misremembering.
Yeah, there's a lot of characters where if you see actual like photographs from the green screen studio, they're wearing much different colors than they are in the actual game.
Also,
a lot of like
supposed
this
to
is red pants and blue pants.
This is probably like what gave rise to like demand for Scarlet or the rumor of Scarlet to show up. Seeing pictures of Caitlyn Zamiar and Becky Gable wearing red stuff.
Yeah. I like his stance though in MK3, though it kind of looked like he and Raiden had these rheumatic type of hands that I know they tried to emulate the snake and these claw type of things that I really didn't sit well with me. I think always the best type of stance that Shang ever had was his Deadly Alliance snake
Agreed with
stats.
that. Definitely.
And then Smoke stole it.
Well, his is more walk like an Egyptian than it is Snake, I think. But
when it comes to that whole kind of like waving claws around in front of you, I kind of associate that with like Reptile and his MK2 stance.
Yeah, I always thought
it's the default stance that I go into whenever I like want to pretend I'm an MK character. Hey guys, look at this. Ooh, jazz.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
I always felt like the MK3 Shang stance looked kind of like mincing and effeminate.
Yeah. Sub-Zero was churning butter. Yeah. Do you remember the MK9 Smoke versus Screen that he had his hands out like he was like tapping on the bar?
See, I always thought he was doing like you have to be this tall to go on the roller coaster, kind of.
I always saw that pose as it's me like, yo, show the fuck out, I got this. He's just got his hand out. He's like, shut the fuck up. Stop talking. Talk to the hand.
Yeah, it looks like he's about to like jab you in the throat.
Or going
back to you're up here. I need you down to here.
Or going back to like Reptile and like Ultimate MK3. It's like I am holding two tiny glasses. They are invisible.
He's like a saying to the other opposing character that sit your $5 ass down before I make change. Ghetto Smoke. Japanese Bishonen Ghetto Smoke.
Cyber thugs in nano machine life. Word.
Yeah. Smoke. Well, MK9 helped Smoke a lot.
It did.
I keep telling you guys, Lin Kuei Clan ain't nothing to fuck with.
Awesome.
Watch out in 2 months, man, because the fucking Brotherhood of the Shadow. Nothing to fuck with, man. Shinnok. Oh, can't wait.
We're gonna have to cover them trophies tomorrow. I think. Not tomorrow. On Friday. There's too much to go into here. It really is.
All right, yeah. Temp, you need to give your favorite Shang stuff still.
Shang Tsung used to be one of my favorite characters. He was he was like top 3 back when MK1 and 2 and even 3 was out. At some point, I fell out of love with this character. It's very similar to what happened with Reptile. At some point, I just wasn't able to recognize the character anymore. And I feel like with other characters, they kept doing cooler stuff. You know, Sub-Zero got the clone, Scorpion got, the flip, and Reptile became a lizard. You know, the cool things were happening with other characters. Mm-hmm. I feel like Shang Tsung got very static for me, and I got tired of the skulls. So I was like, why am I going back to this character? And I like it from a story perspective, but I don't know. I felt like the things I like about him in the story mode never came into play in a match, so there was never that incentive to pick him up. But it's weird. What's that?
Quick question. You said he was getting stale, but do you know that Shang is the only character that never looked the same, discounting Armageddon?
That's true, and I think I like a lot of his costumes too. Like I strongly disagree with you on both you guys on the costumes. I love the MK3 costume. I love that select screen pick. That select screen pick looks so good to me.
And it's not that bad. I agree with you. It's not that bad, but I prefer the other ones over it.
Yeah, I mean, like I see what you guys are saying about the pants. Like, if you get a crayon box, you could pull out a yellow crayon that says Shang Tsung's pants. It's that bad.
Yeah. But I don't mind the face makeup or like the black nail polish. Like Shang going goth is all right, I guess, for like the tone of MK3. It sort of fit. But the pants just really always ruin that costume for me.
You would need some motif on it, and it would be a lot of better.
There's definitely a lot of ways to improve it. I guess one reason why I have a soft spot for that costume is when I saw the select screen for MK3 and I didn't know what Shang was going to look like yet, and I saw that, I'm like, oh my god, Shang looks like a fucking boss. It was great, man. I really do. I also really like the MK9 primary. I love the gold and the snakes and the red collar. It looks so good to me. Neither of those are my favorite costume, but I'll get to that. Shang Tsung's a really cool character. I like competitively how he plays at MK9. I think I just finished learning Rain, so Shang Tsung's pretty close on the roster of characters I want to learn. I just think it's a little too late at this point. I'll have to kind of go back after MKX. after I get my feet wet in that game. But I like the character. I like him a lot better than Quan Chi. Oh my god, do I like him better than Quan Chi. Because I like looking at the character. Quan Chi's design. I like how it evolved from MK4 to Deadly Alliance because I like it when they changed it up with the character. But everyone saw either Clive Barker or they saw maybe like a little bit of Kratos later on. I always saw Uncle Fester. That's always what I saw with Quan Chi, and it distracted me. And I don't know, bald is not beautiful to me. I like long, beautiful, flowing hair. Which, going back to Shang Tsung, that's why, even though I see where you're coming from, Shadowloo, with the MK2 costume, it does look really good. You know, Shang Tsung without long hair is like a day without sunshine. Yeah. I really like the angle of just a long-haired sorcerer. It's very Severus Snape to me. And even though that was
like tucked into a bun underneath that beanie. Yeah. That's all I figured. I don't think you ever.
I like the later games gave him a braid on the back, like in Shaolin Monks or the Deadly Alliance alt.
Yeah. Kung Lao has a.
If you could give me like the MK2 look with a braid, that'd be perfect.
And now to talk with us, they should probably introduce Legacy Season 3 by having Mr. Takaga play Quan Chi 2 in whiteface.
Yeah.
Just to completely insult Shang Tsung. Absolutely. No,
I think at this point, Tagawa would actually make a better Quan Chi because he's not going to wear a wig and grow a goatee.
I think he should go back to the set of Johnny Tsunami and he should get the wig. I think that would be a great progression. But that's another reason why I like Shang Tsung. I think in the movie, even though he looks completely different, I think Tagawa nailed that role because just menacing. Like there's no sympathy for this character. This character is just unambiguously a dick. You know, I mean, when
he overacts, it doesn't come off as hammy as in certain other movies, for example. You can buy that ham.
That's not bad movie ham.
Imbecile.
This is Shang Tsung's personality. That's how he would act.
You beat me to it. That's exactly what I was going to say, Chrome. When he overacts, it's not a problem because I believe it. He portrays the character in a way where it's not inconceivable that he would react in that way, that he would be over the top. This is
larger than life because he is larger than life.
He's a very theatrical man, and it's to be theatrical when you're the grandmaster of the tournament.
Yeah. And you go back and you read like the Jeff Rovin novel or the Malibu comics or what have you, like obviously Conquest aside, I can't help but read it in Tagawa's voice with those mannerisms and those inflections. He really that's it. There is a character to Shang Tsung that exists everywhere else but in the modern games. God, it bothers me so much.
I do
like how MK9 finally made "Your soul is mine" a line he actually says in the game.
Thankfully.
I mean, that's one of the things that Tagawa is a lot like Trevor Goddard as Kano in that there's just something so quotable about him, and that's one of the more memorable things about the movie is Shang's lines.
You know what?
It has begun. Your soul is mine.
Yeah. Do you remember his X-ray? He screams this something like that. Turns out it's legitimate Chinese. Someone translated it on TV tropes, and it says, "You die now."
No kidding. That's fascinating.
It's weird. It's weird for once to have the gibberish in an MK game be not gibberish.
Yeah. Certain type of Chinese because the Mandarin language is full of dialects. Absolutely. Some of them almost completely separate languages. So yeah.
Kind of in shock. Thank you for that information.
Yeah, that's an interesting insight, and I think that's very unique to him. I don't think there's been another example of that, and I guess one reason why I like Tagawa so much as Shang Tsung, because he plays the character in a way where he knows what the Earthrealm warriors are getting into, and he's just unbelievably confident. He's like, you guys are so fucked. Yeah. You don't even know. We got a guy with ice. You guys are fucked. And I love that. He portrays that, and he's consistent with that up till the very end. And when the Earthrealm warriors start winning, he genuinely kind of has a breakdown. He's like, no, fuck this. I'm changing it. This is bullshit. And he kind of worms his way out to Outworld, and I like that. But I'm sorry, what's up?
Yeah, but even then, at the end, he is not the kind of final bad guy. He's not the suit. For example, when if you take my favorite movie, RoboCop, when Kurtwood Smith's character Clarence Boddicker is the guy who killed Alex Murphy, he is the physical antagonist to the character. And at the end, when RoboCop goes to confront Ronnie Cox's character, who is the suit, who is not a physical match and is a sniveling coward at the end, Shang is not like that. If Shang has been proven wrong, everything, when all else falls, he is not he's not unwilling to take the stage and pummel Liu Kang.
Yeah, he maintained his dignity all the way to the last second, and
he's not a pro wrestling heel who will like run out of the ring and stick his bodyguards on you. He will fight his own battles.
Yeah, he might beg in front of Shao Kahn, but that's because Shao Kahn is Shao Kahn. He will not beg in front of Liu Kang and Raiden, for example.
Shang Tsung is smart. You shouldn't fucking, mess with Shao Kahn. If he knew what he was dealing with, and that's what I like about the character. But what's up, Razor?
Yeah, it's like you get to the end of the tournament, and it's like, well, you've beaten all my guys. You've backed me into a corner. I can still beat you. I can still win this. Like, he believes in himself.
Fuck you, my hair is longer. Yeah.
And just for more assertive show.
Look at my goatee.
I guess working backwards a little bit, just briefly, that's why I like. Well, it's not why, but when I say I like the turkey noises with Liu Kang, it's not necessarily because it's a joke, but I like the idea that a character can have a quirk. That seems very fitting to me. I like the idea that even though he's a badass and he's the champion, that he could still do silly stuff. You see that in real life all the time. These really cool, down-to-earth, charismatic guys. But there's one thing about them that is just stupid, and they can't help it, or they don't care, or they don't know. So
Shang has one.
That's fitting. What's that?
Shang has one. If you take a look at his throw and his soul steals, he sometimes says this like a Transformers Beast War Megatron. That he says yes. I love
good.
That.
I bet.
Feels good. Feels good, man.
Like chicken.
He should always be a little bit sleazy sounding, a little bit slimy. They may overdo it with like the snake design a little bit, but there are reasons that they kind of associate him with that particular creature.
Yeah, well, in this universe, Shang hasn't got the wardrobe like he did in the previous universe, but yeah, it's doable. I really like the scene when he comes to confront Raiden, when Jax was smoking his cigar and he's like oozing confidence. He just puts up his hands and opens a portal, like smiling like a jackass. Yeah,
it really is. It's the details with Shang Tsung. The details really make him a great character, and I guess I don't know. It's still not enough to make me play as him, but the competition is so good now. There's so many characters I love. That even though I feel like he has made a comeback on a gameplay level, there's a lot to go around, unfortunately, in terms of good characters. But
and I think Kotal is going to be one tough cookie if you are going to compare it, because I think a lot of people like Kotal Khan right now, and I think he's the next bad guy that I really like.
See, I like Kotal a lot, but I think on a different level than everyone else. I feel like people like Kotal because he's cool. I like Kotal because he's just a really nice guy. Like, he's a good baseball coach, I think, and I really like that dynamic he has with Reptile.
Agreed.
I like that a lot.
Kotal is not a self-centered idiot, for example, like Khan, who is sitting confidently on his throne when he is at full power, and because everyone is afraid of him. No, Kotal understands the inner workings of how to run an empire, for example. That is why Reptile is seemingly fiercely loyal to him, because he is not getting treated like dirt.
Yeah,
we really like to see.
Kotal's not a despot.
That's my favorite thing about Kotal, and that's why I'm really digging him. Is he's neutral. He's not just your typical 101 bad guy. He does some bad things. He does some good things. He ultimately he just has his own convictions and his own moral standards, and that's what I dig about him.
He sounds like the first guy in the history of MK who actually be maybe worthy of the name Emperor, and someone who could actually use that position wisely.
Yeah. Imagine Shang under Kotal.
I wanted to bring
that is interesting.
One last thing about Shang Tsung, since it seems to me like heresy to leave this behind. Do you guys still miss the morphs? Because I still miss the morphs.
Ooh.
I think
That's
MK9
question.
had a nice balance. From a
Yeah, I
gameplay
like the way it was
perspective,
done in 9.
I
That
don't
is
know if I like the
probably
idea of a
only
character. Yeah?
I never really got into Shang playing as him in the 2D games because it was just so much to remember.
Yeah.
But
did.
just to become your opponent, I can, at least...
I don't know.
It's sort of easier to handle.
I did. Back when 2 and 3 were the big games out, I made it a point to learn everyone, and Shang Tsung was one of my preferred guys, because I could actually do that. I could turn into most anyone I wanted to and kind of adapt my playstyle a little bit. And I miss being able to do that. What I wish that they would be able to do is, like, maybe take that approach that Trilogy on PlayStation did. I don't know if N64 did this too, but in Trilogy, they let you select up to 3 people to morph into. And of course, being not insane, you would select 2 people, then your third would be a ninja, so you got all 7 of them. That was the logical course of action. But I wish that you could still do that, like pick at least a limited amount of people to be able to morph into at any given time that you wanted, in addition to having your opponents available in any way, shape, or form at any time.
Well, I wonder if, like, you had, in MK9, there was the boss version of Shang that you could fight against where he had like,
4.
2 morphs and you, and it seemed like they were chosen at random, but I actually wonder if that could be, like, a playable thing where you don't pick them on the select screen, you're given 3 random characters you can morph into, and that might be fun. Like, I know some people don't like necessarily randomness in their character in a fighting game, like, as far as competitive-wise, but I think there's a place for it, like a character like, elements like Game & Watch's Hammer in Smash Brothers, or Omen's Fireballs in Killer Instinct. I think there is a place for that in a competitive fighting game.
Yeah, you
If
have
the core
separate
character's
inputs
good,
for
it's
each morph,
fine.
then it could work.
Absolutely. And I would even be okay with, like, after you pick Shang on the select screen, you get to pick 3 characters. And I would be cool with that. Now, the thing is, on a competitive level, I think it's fine either way, because, like I said, if you balanced the core character, it shouldn't matter who he morphs into. Because you don't get to pick who your opponent plays, so that doesn't affect the tier list. What if your opponent picks the best character in the game? Should he be able to morph into that? Maybe, yes, sure, why not? So I'm fine with a random, if you're willing to take that chance, that's what happens. But that's pretty much it for Shang Tsung. Favorite costume? I love MK9. I love the primary. It hurts me to not pick it, because that's the game where he went full Antoine, and I really it's such a great costume in my opinion. But I have to pick the alternate costume for Deadly Alliance. I thought that took everything I loved about MK3, MK2, and his modern incarnation, and they made something beautiful out of it. And I love the pose. I love the snake and the crane. Really, I thought that looked really good. So
Why Chameleon got it in Armageddon, I cannot figure.
well, I've come around. I used to think that way too, but I'm starting to like Chameleon a lot these days. I think there's something really cool they could do if they really treat him as an enigma and be like, you could not understand why this character does the way he does or why he's here, but when you find out, you're gonna shit bricks. But
Of course you would say that if you were Chameleon.
Or if you were in your room right now with a gun to your back.
So, everyone in Mortal Kombat X is going to turn out to be Quan Chi, an impostor Shinnok, an impostor Shang Tsung, and everyone else is Chameleon.
Lowest
Tremor.
amount of new characters in a game to date.
Love
You
it.
can't see him. His time is now.
John Cena.
Favorite fatality?
Favorite fatality is I love the Kentaro MK2 fatality, because for one thing, you have to earn it. You have to hold that button for 30 seconds. I think that's awesome, because it is one of the biggest surprises. Maybe it's not the best fatality in the game, but it's a surprise. When you first see that fatality, you're like, holy shit.
And you have to work for it.
Absolutely. And because I had to work for it, I almost never saw it, but that's okay, because that made it so much better,
I think it was low punch for 30 seconds.
That sounds right. Which makes sense, because Kentaro literally does a low punch to knock your torso off. And that's another reason I like it, because the bosses weren't playable back then. So there was a real novelty to be able to turn into the sub-boss, And
At least for a fatality. Fatality. Sorry, my accent.
And it fits in.
That's cool.
It's all right. We'll Kotal Khan and Naitara will join you in the NetherRealm.
Yeah, we'll spend time with
we had this
Mavedo.
whole routine planned out that I would introduce myself. Children of the fight, what music do they make?
That's really good, dude. I love it.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Well, considering I speak the same language as Lugoshi, so actually it's Lugoshi.
Look, really?
Yes, because Hungarian for the S has a double phenome, so it's the S and the Z. That's our S, and our sh is your S.
I will spread the word. I will let people know that because that's important to me. I want to pronounce things correctly if I can. I mean, Naitara, I think I'm too far gone, but I want to try with everything else if I can. So.
And this was Culture Corner with Chrome.
I'm probably ruined because I've listened to Bauhaus's Bela Lugosi's Dead for too many. See, I just did it again. I've been listening to that song as like a goth anthem for like the past 15 fucking years. It's too late for me.
Bela Lugosi is alive now, so
It's not a big
we
problem.
know what to do.
Well, the other thing is that you have to switch the names because we are the only ones who use the Asian name order. So it's Lugosi Bela.
Now,
That's all I got for Shang Tsung. That's
it'll never happen. I'm so sorry. I can't. This is too much
I know.
to handle.
Because we are the only ones in Europe, to my knowledge, I think. But now I'm getting into linguistics, and it's
Strange.
6:15. I am not going to do linguistics in. It's almost today. Well, it is today. Okay.
if I try, I'll mess it up. I'm gonna call him like Lugosi Jin or some shit like that. So I'm not even gonna.
Okay, that was worth it.
Well, that's
Bella.
me on Shang. Kung Bella. Bell King.
Yeah.
All right.
Did you pick your fatality?
Oh. Yeah,
Yes,
I
he
did.
did.
What the hell?
He said Kintaro.
Okay, then that's it. That's it. It's
So,
over.
somebody's tired.
You know what this time is. It's
Somebody
time for
has
the
3
end
questions
of
for
the
Chrome.
episode. Nope.
No, it's not.
Wow, I did a 44. Yes, 24 hours. Okay.
Dude, you already used your
Impressive.
3 questions. How to pronounce Bela Lugosi's name.
But these are so good. They're such good questions.
I'm counting that tournament question because Chrome was included. So
You're a question.
you get 1 question.
That does
You know,
not even make
I
any.
always hate, in hindsight, picking that name was absolutely,
Well, at least you didn't spell it with a K.
Well,
At least you spelled your name right.
thankfully, yes. You know what's the worst thing about it? I came up with the same exact metallurgist ninja idea when I joined. I think it was in 2005 when I wrote a mock next MK cast, and I basically did the same. It was a lost Shirai Ryu who used this. He would shoot a harpoon made out of thin metal, but it was molten. It's kind of ironic to see it come back when they produced accidentally this white ninja
Chrome is a
statue.
decent name for a character, and like
Yeah.
the liquid metal thing is a thing that they don't really have in Mortal Kombat. It's just the idea has sort of been ruined by the one guy driving it into the ground.
Yep. And also I'm a Robert Patrick fan, so
Me too.
Mm.
Big fan. All right, 3 questions. I'll make these quick. First question: who is your favorite 3D era character?
well, if I had to count Shang in it, then it would be Shang obviously, but I'm going to put him away because he didn't start in the 3D era. If I had to choose, it would be a tie between Hotaru and Su Hao. You cannot disrespect the Hao.
That's interesting. That's a fascinating dichotomy.
I fucking love Asian culture. And having a Mongolian Nadam Böke wrestler in MK would probably look absolutely awesome. Plus, I like his hat. Oh,
That's
really?
fair.
It's refreshing to hear that. Too many people hate on the hat.
I like that.
Do not disrespect
Again,
the hat.
Su Hao's hate is a meme.
Yeah. Well, he's kind of Limp Bizkit of the MK cast.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
that
it's
I think
descriptive.
that Suhao has way more dignity than Fred Durst, personally.
Yeah, and Suhao could probably beat Fred Durst in a fight.
Oh my god, there's no
I would
problem.
pay for that.
There's no probably about it.
Yeah.
He wouldn't even do it for the nookie. He'd just do it because
I think
Fred Durst
Fred
looked at him
Durst's
wrong.
moveset would be Sonic from Smash Brothers. He just keeps rolling.
I'm sorry, Korn, I love your music, but discovering Fred Durst was your worst thing you ever done.
That legacy's gonna live on.
Hmm.
All right, we're gonna go. That was actually the second question. The first one was who's your favorite character, but since we covered that, we'll go straight to the second, which was this. And now for the third. Chrome, what is your favorite anime?
My favorite anime. This is going to blow a lot of people's gasket, but probably my favorite anime is, again, a tie. If something that I have watched repeatedly, it would be Neon Genesis Evangelion. But if something that impressed me the most, it's going to be a little known anime called Shigurui Death Frenzy.
I've never heard of that.
I could probably show you guys a couple of questions. Actually, it's kind of like MK in anime form. The guy who drew the original manga has an absolute anatomy. It's tomorrow now, so I can't speak correctly. He has an anatomically correct drawing style. So he regularly draws fighting samurai in the manga by having these X-ray kind of dissections where he shows the movement, for example, of the bowels, the muscle tissue. It's actually a very good historical reproduction of a written novel called Duels at Sunpu Castle, which shows a lot of miscreant samurai who are meeting to settle vendettas for the amusement of the Lord. So it's like MK in anime form. It's about two samurai who are disfigured and have a vendetta against each other. The one is a blind and a lame man, and the other is a one-armed samurai. It has a lot of absolutely fantastical elements, but no magic, no inner Dragon Ball-like powers. It's very reality-based. So the fantastical elements in the story are kind of presented as, yeah, you can suspend your disbelief for that. For example, the lame samurai has a gash between his toe and the other fingers on his, toes on his leg, and he uses that gash to hold down the blade of which he uses. He uses a larger katana than average, and he tries to hold it as back for a instant killing blow. He uses a very powerful swing that dissects people. It's very gory, and I kind of like it because it shows the samurai feudal era for what it was, a pretty brutal and pointlessly violent era. So it doesn't really glamorize the things inside it. Look it up. You have to have a stomach for it for the anime. Too bad the anime.
I'll check it out.
You have to. I think it's absolutely must. It's not the best story, I think, but it's very unusual and it's worth watching through one time. But I have to warn you, it's very graphic. It has rape and other stuff in it, so it's.
Ooh, that might be a deal breaker. I don't do well with rape.
It's not graphic. It's implied, but there are some other stuff in that are considerably sexual, and but it is sporadic enough. I think
as long as we're not getting to like Jodie Foster territory, I should be okay then. But
what do you think about Berserk?
I don't want to spoil gross, but
what's that?
What's your opinion on Berserk?
I was good till the well, there was. I mean, up till the end,
anime or
it
the
really
manga?
is okay. Oh, the manga. There's baby eating in the manga. Oh God. But,
that doesn't faze me that much.
Actually, I didn't like the rape scene for sure. Berserk's okay.
Everyone knows babies are good eating.
Yeah.
I think Shigurui is a little bit more graphic than Berserk in some places. But
I can do the violence. The violence I'm okay with. It's just,
mostly because it's real. It's not like a guy who has this buster sword like of Slab of Iron. So Shigeru hits me a little bit harder because it looks realistic.
That's fair. And I like Berserk a lot. Is it Asuka? Is that her name?
Casca, yes.
Casca, yeah. Ooh, no, not the end. Because I think there's like there's the explicit and the implicit one too, but yeah.
The Eclipse.
That was a hard thing to watch.
Yeah. If I would have watched that before I read some of the more mainstream stuff and so the Eclipse didn't hit me as hard as when Asuka gets impaled in the end of Evangelion. But that's because Evangelion does a really good job at getting you invested in the characters. Well, unless you're Shinji. Nobody likes
And when you
Shinji.
say the Impale, you mean the movie, right?
Yeah.
That's it? Okay, I guess.
Yeah, some of us never saw all of Evangelion.
It's not as deep as people make it out to be. I think a lot of people misinterpret that. It's not this absolutely deep philosophical or hyper mythologized anime. It's a pretty decent anime what does characters explicitly good. I have dealt with some students and people who had some psychological problems, and after a while, Evangelion gets a little bit funny because the sheer amount of mental issues the people have becomes kind of funny in a dark, grotesque sense. But I've seen people young who had post-traumatic stress disorder or schizophrenia. In fact, I had a schoolmate, a classmate to be precise, who was pretty hard schizophrenic, and he had to be taken away for each semester to a sanatorium. He wasn't really dangerous or anything, but he said some pretty far out there stuff that I really don't want to recollect. Not that it was bad, but I really want to respect his where he is right now. I don't want to talk about it.
I think that this is why I went to Xenogears when I sought giant mechs and childhood trauma. A nice little 70-hour RPG that brings together those things quite wonderfully. I was more of a Xenogears guy to me.
You know what? There hasn't been a paradigm shift in Japanese anime and manga really after Evangelion. Mostly because they have commercialized the shit out of Evangelion. So it's like the Disney Mickey Mouse of Japan.
I believe it.
Yeah, you have to look out the web shop. You do not want to type into the Google Rei Ayanami without the safe filter.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Is that it for the evening? I think we're done, personally.
Well, good morning to you then.
No, I'm sorry. It's. I have to get to bed, man. It's like 1:25 a.m. for me now.
All right.
Yeah, I'm in the same time zone as Shadowloo.
6:30 here.
Thanks, Chrome, for coming on, of course.
Yeah,
and you need to get to bed more than any of us, man.
Check out
you all
the
should sleep, man.
I had enough tea. Right now,
stream
I'm going to pull a 24.
tomorrow.
It would be a waste.
Or today, technically, you'll probably be listening to, of course. And yeah, thanks. Adios.
My pleasure. Anytime, anywhere.
Take care, guys.
Have a good night, ladies and germs.
Friendship again?